killed in the line of duty yesterday on the city's southwest side. Police say the officer was chasing an armed suspect who suddenly turned and fired. The officer did manage to shoot the 18-year-old suspect. He's hospitalized in critical condition. The Biden administration requesting $1.5 billion to fight COVID relief fraud.
It's estimated that billions of taxpayer dollars were stolen or lost when the government approved trillions of dollars in coronavirus pandemic relief programs. And now the White House is asking Congress for money to help clean up the mess. The administration wants the resources to prosecute fraudsters, establish new protections, and help people whose identities were stolen. It's unclear if lawmakers will approve the funding. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Let's keep an eye on the sky in the south. Forecasters warn of the possibility of more severe storms today. That includes the possibility of tornadoes, damaging hail, and flooding rains from Texas over into the southeast. On Wall Street, stocks are mixed. Right now, the Dow is up 81 points, while the Nasdaq is down 56, and the S&P 9 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Welcome in to Walker Talks here on a Thursday. Could end up being a truculent Thursday.
Truculent.
Yeah, trying to use a little alliteration there. I don't even know if that's a real word.
Sounds good.
Which one of y'all did that? All right, we've got a beat.
There it went.
We're going to get preempted here. Got some weather coming in. We have a flash flood warning all the way until Friday morning at 9 o'clock. But the news doesn't stop there. We are also expecting, in addition to the flash flood warning, we're expecting severe, potential bad weather, but definitely some severe thunderstorms this afternoon. Starting at, I think they said, around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. The worst is going to come in between 9 and 10, so be weather aware. If things do get bad, we will go live here at 96.5. Not me and Scott and Tony, but somebody, Larry Newman, Greg, somebody will come in here and keep you guys safe. I will be in the bathtub with a pillow over me, which is normally how I sleep, so that's nothing unusual.
I'll be trying to calm down my dog who freaks out.
You need one of those thunder jackets.
Oh, she has one.
What do you do with your
I think
animals?
she needs
Scott?
some
Do they-
drugs.
They flip out on bad weather?
No, they're really pretty good about it. We've got a dog and a cat, and my daughter's 2 cats are in the house with us right now. Now, one of hers loses its mind, but other than that, they're pretty good about it.
That's good. Yeah, there's nothing worse than it's usually the bigger dogs too. Like the little dogs are usually okay. It's like the bigger dogs that get scared of stuff like that. I had a boxer one time and he would flip out. Like, he just, did like stand there and shake thing. Like when thunder, they'd like rumble the house
Now,
or
they're
whatever.
not crazy about it. Don't get me wrong. They don't beg for it, but no, they
don't mind it. Normally at this time, you'll be hearing from Tom Scuteri. Tom has a Pentagon meeting this morning. He's going to call in about an hour and a half. Tom's going to get in with us. So if you're missing Tom right now, don't worry. He'll be here. He's just got to, we got bumped for the Pentagon. So whatever.
Jeez.
Whatever.
I got the Secretary of Defense or I got Chuck Walker.
And I'm still insulted. I'll be honest with you. I'm still insulted. Welcome into Walker Talks. We got Tony Niehoff joining us today. Our good friend Scott Bumpus is back. Bumpus is the most interesting man in Madison County.
Oh,
I was trying to get, how Lindsay will make those flyers and
That's
stuff.
a tall order.
Those digital things. So I was trying to get her to make one last night, but we were eating. We went out to eat last night, and you know how on Van Drive, or maybe you don't. I know for people that have AT&T, it'll jam your phone up. Like you can't do the internet thing. So the little app that she uses to build those little promotional flyers and stuff, we couldn't do it last night. And then we got home and, get busy, go to bed, things like that.
newlyweds.
Yeah, newlyweds. What are you going to do? 731-265-6496 is our Jackson IV and Wellness Clinic call-in number. 731-265-6496. Our advanced rehab text line is 731-800-8398, 731-800-8398. We've got a couple of messages already coming in. This one says 40 eastbound is backed up from mile marker 69 all the way to Brownsville. So
that's
eastbound,
about 9 miles.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Are they still doing the road work out there? Like doing the potholes? I know they were in Jackson.
Well, they were doing the rolling stuff, but they're still trying to get it widened right there between, 79 all the way out for a couple of miles over the bottoms.
Okay, so that may be what's going on.
I came from Memphis last week on Sunday, and there was no construction then. So,
yeah, not all the way down, not between 69 and Brownsville. It's most likely that people are driving like morons.
it's probably a wreck or
See
something.
that.
Just going to go out on a limb.
Yeah, well, and speaking of going out on a limb and leaves and everything else, we were talking about this before the show started as we were doing our prep work. And I don't know if you guys have seen, Tony, I think you have, Olivia Abernathy made a post last night. She was trying to get around the roundabout, and I had no idea that post was even made in America. That water was so high, and I've seen a couple of people share it, but I didn't know the roundabout flooded like that. Now, Rick has called in before and said that area floods really bad and, shouldn't put a roundabout there. And, Rick just doing his normal bit. But that was awful. Like, that's like turn around, don't drown kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was dangerous. And she said she went through it on her post, so
well, I mean,
she barely made it through.
She may have like one of those big monster trucks.
I don't think so. I think
like
it's
the one, like
small vehicle,
like the one where the front end's raised, and you just, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, what do they
there
call
might be
that?
a difference in the concept of turn around, don't drown when you're like trying to cross a swollen creek or a bridge. But when it's just the roundabout flooded, I'm not sure. I've never tried to take the rapids over there in a canoe or anything.
Pull the picture up.
Oh,
It looked like it was up to your door handle.
Yeah,
it looked like it was up to your door handle.
It was a big deal. I wonder how long it lasted.
It was a few feet of water for sure.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane. And here we are, potentially, Brandon Shields is going to be joining us around the 12 o'clock hour. Potentially, could be adding another roundabout here in Jackson.
And more rain.
Hopefully the rain comes first, and then we'll put the roundabout down.
Every day for the next 3 weeks, I think we got rain in the forecast, with the exception of I think this Saturday's supposed to be okay. But other than that, it's
Saturday, Sunday said sunny on my app.
Geez.
So
I hate rain. I absolutely hate rain. But we need it. I know we need it. So
rain an hour every night, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, if it would rain every day, I've had this conversation before. If it would rain every day from like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m, because you shouldn't be out then anyway.
It's true.
Rain every day from 2 to 4, and then be good.
Mom always said nothing good happens after midnight.
Well, that's not
really true.
I'll explain to you in the break how that's not 100% the case. This comes in, and it says, and we're going to get into Tom in our conversation with Tom Scuteri when he calls in about this. And until I saw this report from Tom, I would have never have thought this. But the Pentagon has come out and said, that's my fault here, leaving my phone on, I apologize. What up, Eddie Floyd? The Pentagon has said that, hey guys, all of these weapons we're sending to Ukraine, they're using them. They're not selling them on the black market. And I was like, well, why would the Pentagon even say that? Like, because I would have never thought that they were selling the weapons, right?
Yeah. Surely they're using all the money in the right places there.
I wouldn't. Yeah, got to be.
Well,
every one of them.
One of the reports that came out, this is on TASS.com. This report says more than $1 billion worth of NATO weapons for Kiev, however you want to say it, ends up on the black market, according to Russia's MFA. It was recalled that independent experts and specialized organizations, including Interpol and Europol, have long expressed concerns about the illegal influx of weapons from Ukraine to European and other countries.
More than $1 billion worth?
$1 billion. That seems like a lot.
Depending on who's doing the billing, that might not be but like one hand grenade.
That's true. That's a great point.
I think we gave them $100 billion, so that's just 1% of what we gave them, right?
That's shrinkage right there. That probably fits inside the.
I mean, true.
What?
That is a term. That's a retail term. Shrinkage.
That's true.
Yep.
It's a term for sure. Well, I don't understand if this is true. Now, the Pentagon has come out, and Tom will get into it more. He was there yesterday. It says Pentagon officials have stressed there has been no theft or disappearance of U.S. supplied weapons to Ukraine, and that tracking of all weapons is well on track.
I mean, really? Do they really know that?
He said twice the Capitol Hill, twice, once on the Capitol Hill and once at the Pentagon, both times responding to these questions, the officials stressed they saw no indication of malfeasance.
Right. That means they didn't see it. Doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I would have never thought. I would have thought, surely to goodness, these people would have used that. But, these war-torn areas, it's the same way. It's the saddest situation in the world. But, like, even when you send money over to Africa and things like that, you hear of these warlords who take the goods and keep it from the people and, use it themselves or, sell it back at an inflated rate. It's awful what happens.
Who knows? They may need to get some food, and they said, well, here's a missile for some food.
Yeah.
I mean, could that have happened? Well, sure.
I don't know. This comes in. It says, a lot of the weapons we sent to Iraq somehow magically landed in the hands of ISIS and Muslim extremist organizations in the Middle East.
We say the same thing about the stuff we sent to the Mujahideen in the early 80s, too.
Right. But we were rolling with them then, right? Because they were trying to get Russia out of there.
Yeah. I mean, we were
our
friends.
homies, right?
Yeah,
we were friends.
We're real fluid about who our buddies are.
Well, you got to, it's been people I know's experience in the past. You got to jump in, jump out of a relationship.
You never know. I'm just saying.
It goes on to say, I believe we are sending I can't say that word, a buttload of weapons, I think is the scientific term, over there to Ukraine. Yet soldiers on the front in Bakhmut are running out of ammo. Something doesn't add up. And then there's another link sent to me. This one's on Business Insider. So evidently this is getting some push, and I've just missed on it. It says the U.S. is sending billions of dollars worth of weapons to Ukraine. Who knows where they'll end up being used?
I have read where they're having a hard time getting the ammo to the front line, and that makes sense because Russia's blowing up bridges and doing things you do in war. I mean, if you're going to be, remember those games you'd play as a kid, Risk or something, you'd have to take out the supply chain and all that.
Yeah. So is the answer to send more? If this is happening?
I mean, I think we've sent a lot. That's for Congress to decide, but
I don't know. There's people on the ground that know. Scott Bumpus isn't one of those people.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we're going to get those ground soldiers to call in. It'd be great if they did.
I don't know that we're ever going to be able to, and I don't know where the sources are on the articles they are. I can't believe that I don't trust anybody who says that no weapons are going to the black market. If they'd said, obviously there is a percentage that we lose in these kind of transactions, but it's nowhere outside the normal of any other initiative, I'd feel a whole lot better about it than someone standing up at a podium saying, no, of course not. That couldn't possibly happen. That automatically throws a red flag to me.
Yeah, that seems logical for sure.
After you were in here last week, Scott, I actually went back and watched on Hulu. Was it War Dogs? I had not seen that movie. That's a great movie. And it's crazy to think things like that happen. But I mean, it was based in part on true events.
I've got a really good friend who's in the know on such things. I told you last week, just for a moment, I had a great Pentagon tour one time. I sent my buddy a text and I said, Pentagon says no weapons being sent to the Ukraine are ending up in the black market. And his text back was, want to bet? So,
oh my gosh.
I mean, there's a black market for everything almost. I mean, organs, there's a black market for organs.
yeah.
You know,
Which is another report that has come out. We got this late on yesterday, but this is some sad reporting. But it is, I mean, I say it's true. It's being reported by different outlets. How about that? It says you should read about the human trafficking with Ukrainian refugee women and children that's going on, plus the black market organ. That microphone's on, Tony, if you want to keep banging on that. It says, plus the black market organ harvesting of dead soldiers.
Wow.
that's awful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird world we live in.
Raise your hand if you're surprised by either one of those statements, though.
Yes, the organ harvesting of dead soldiers. I'm
You're not
so
surprised by
naive. Well, I mean, not now that I've heard it, I would believe it. But
Yeah.
I'm saying, look, my mind would have never even gone there.
Yeah.
That would have been a thing.
Same thing. I would have never thought of that, but I'm not surprised. But I guess I'm kind of shocked, but not surprised.
This comes in our advanced rehab text line 731-800-8398. Says you're talking about the same organization that says you can drink the water in Ohio and that the border is secure.
Yeah.
You know, would you, Scott, you said you knew somebody who was actually displaced in Ohio, but
My buddy Jack Cobb, he's retired from Harley Davidson, lives there, and I remember when the thing first happened because he's posting pictures of a train explosion about 300 yards from the house, and they
how
got
quick did they get out?
well, they got evacuated that night, but they're back. And they've been back for a while. I'm gonna reach out to Jack and see if
Do that. That would be
Jack
really
would call
interesting.
in. I sent him a note the other day just checking on him. He says, yeah, we're back in. He says it's really been blown out of proportion, but the silence from the railroad is kind of deafening.
I wonder if that's legal advice, like saying, hey, don't say anything, don't do anything.
Oh, I'm certain there's a lot to do with that.
Right. The pictures, and maybe he's right because he's there and we're not,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm looking at pictures on a computer screen, but the stuff that I see, like when that cloud was, when they were burning the chemicals or that controlled burn, and it looked like a black nuclear cloud, like that seemed pretty scary.
But you would think if and I'm certainly not minimizing anything because I think it's horrible and I'm always floored by things that were preventable.
Mm-hmm.
But you would think that would be the most important thing going on in his world right now. And I promise you, he posts a whole lot more about how bad the Pirates are going to be this year than what's going on with the water.
But
But
Pirates,
he's got a point, though.
the Pirates are
They're really
always
gonna be
bad, though.
Yeah. Well, they got O'Neal Cruz. I mean, they got some good young talent on the Pirates. I think the Pirates finish above the Reds.
Yeah, the Reds.
Well,
are
the
pretty-
Reds sold everybody off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their whole team was auctioned off.
Guys, this comes in 731-800-8398. Our advanced rehab text number says, I do not consent to any competition, games based on imaginary lines in the sand and mismanaged resources for profit. So do not cross my plans for world peace and the redemption of we, the people, in the land. Note to the living. Tony,
That's
I'm
exactly
sure,
what I was going to say.
That
I'm
was-
sure that's for you, Tony.
That was deep.
That was deep. Well,
Deep thoughts with Jack Handy.
if you don't consent, then we won't do it to you. Now that you've, let us know that you do not consent to that. This comes in and says you'd have to be really gullible to believe anything coming out of the Pentagon. I know Tom's a good guy, but the stuff coming out of the Pentagon on Ukraine doesn't make any sense. Well, and at least that's about Tom. Tom's job is to report. They say, hey, look, the sky is going to be, purple tomorrow. I mean, Pop's like, hey, Tom's got to say, hey, the report
Pentagon
from the
said.
Pentagon is the sky's going to be purple. That's what he's doing. That's his job, is to relay that information and then use his contacts that he has over in Europe Tom, was it 2 weeks ago, I believe, he actually traveled with NATO. He's one of 5 reporters that was able to go over there, and he was when he called in 2 Tuesdays ago, when he called in, he was in Brussels. And then when he was in Estonia first on Tuesday. And when he called in on Thursday, he was in Brussels over there. And he did say, and I thought this was an interesting comment that he made. I asked him the question. I said, do you think people, or do people over there in Europe, especially countries like Estonia, these really small places, who know that if Russia defeats Ukraine, and they feel like they would be next, right? The Soviet Union, kind of rebuilding, and they know they can't fight them anywhere near as good as Ukraine could. I said, is there fear there that Americans seem to be, at least some of us Americans, seem to be kind of not as in support of this war as we were the very first couple of weeks, as we were 53 weeks ago? It seems to be like now we're asking the questions, which I think is a smart thing to do, to ask questions of your government. We're asking questions like, man, do we still, are we making a difference here? Are we just, mortgaging more of our future off by sending all this? Can we stop them? We're not sending the F-16s. They keep asking for the F-16s. Are we in this war? Are we not in this war?
I'm probably a little bit more cynical in my opinion of it, because I think the average American really likes limited series more than series that go on for like 3 or 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. So I think the limited series has kind of run its course. I absolutely think that we need to be able to ask questions of our government. A lot of times I think we're asking questions that we really don't understand what the question is and may not understand what the answer is. So we are building things around it. We're using Ukraine as another subject to be able to raise Cain about something else we're probably mad about.
You're like displacing anger, you're saying?
Yeah.
Possibly.
I don't like the government who's sitting right now, so Ukraine is going to be my vehicle to complain about it this time.
So you're saying
I may use Palestine, Ohio to complain about it. I may use the pitch clock in baseball, which frankly is worse than the train wreck in Ohio,
a long-term effect.
Ukraine
Although it has sped up spring training games. 2.5 hours.
Geez, leave my game alone.
Quite the traditionalist.
Yeah, exactly.
This comes in our advanced rehab text line, 731-800-8398, 731-800-8398. It says, I think the narrative that if Russia takes Ukraine, or at least the eastern part of the country, and they hold Crimea, is that they will keep expanding west. I think that that's propaganda, kind of like the domino theory during the justification of the Vietnam War.
I just can't get behind the fact they're going to take over Europe whenever they can't even get volunteers for their army.
But this is kind of, depending on what you read and what you watch, I'm really interested in this war in Ukraine, more so than any war that we've been in, from Afghanistan to Vietnam, which, to my shame, I don't know a ton about Vietnam. I know what, socially what happened and when soldiers came back and all, but as far as what was going on there, I don't know near enough about it. I need to learn more.
You probably know a lot, Scott. I heard the terrain was awful. It was hard.
Here's the thing that's interesting about the Ukraine war. It is one that is the easiest so far to connect the dots between 1945 and now. From what was going on, who was fighting, the different factions that are at war.
You think more so than that than World War I?
Oh, yeah.
I draw similarities with, I know there wasn't a shot fired to start it. Someone wasn't technically assassinated, but just the way that everybody's kind of shaping up, I feel more like World War I. Do you think this, so you believe, or what do you believe? Let me ask you that. Do you think that Russia really believes that there were Nazis in eastern Ukraine and that they were being terrorized by the Ukrainian government? Okay, because this is, from my understanding, this is what the Russia information is. Like if we're doing a talk show in Moscow, what we'd be saying. And they were actually under attack, and these people in eastern Ukraine felt like they were still Russia. And so they were pro-Russia. And so they came over to liberate them. Is that what you think? I know that's what Russia's saying.
I think that historically, the argument that, and I'm not well read on the subject.
Sure.
I think historically the argument of there's Nazis over there is a dog whistle inside the former Soviet Union inside Russia, that can become a quick rallying cry for reasons to go to war. Now, in Scott's opinion, that is something that's been invented by the man over there to sell this story inside the country. I think stories like that are awfully hard to sell in the day and time which we live in, which you can communicate quickly. You can get information in and out of a country. The government can't regulate it as much as they may have been able to in the past. So, I still think that I think that Russians believe it? I think that's what Russians are being told. I don't know I'm not sure how strong that foundation of opinion has been built.
And at some point, they're just like any of us. I mean, the only thing they can base their feelings off of is the information that's out there. And Russia is a much more controlled, from what we understand, much more controlled environment than the United States.
Has been for a long time.
Yeah. So whatever they put out there, that's what they get. Good news. Tom Scuteri just texted me. He's landed. He is ready to talk. We're going to take a quick break. Tom Scuteri is going to call in, and we are going to continue more of this here on Walker Talks.
The Rocket is coming to Jackson April 13th, Meridian Baptist Church. Roger Clemens will be the guest at the 4th annual benefit to the Trey Lindsay Scholarship. Roger Clemens has an unprecedented 7 Cy Young Awards, 354 wins, and 4,672 strikeouts. Clemens' career spanned 24 years with the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and Astros. The 11-time All-Star, winning 2 World Series with the New York Yankees. Silent auction is huge with sports celebrity memorabilia along with hunts, duck calls, vacation packages, restaurant packages, and more. Follow posts on Facebook mentioning items leading up to the event. Call 731-217-7187, 731-217-7187 for table sponsor or ticket information. Brought to you by Work Care Resources and News Talk 96.5 FM and NewsTalkWTN.com.
When you need a heart expert, you need an expert with heart. Corbin Cardiology is dedicated to providing the highest quality cardiovascular care in West Tennessee. At Corbin Cardiology, our patient-centered approach, along with a full array of diagnostic imaging services, sets us apart from other cardiovascular clinics. Corbin Cardiology has clinics in Bartlett, Dyersburg, Lexington, and the newest location is now open in Jackson at 58 Murray Guard Drive. To schedule an appointment in office or by telemedicine, visit CorbinCardiology.com
or call 731-513-5701.
Is your office or home office in need of a new printer, copier, fax, or multifunction machine? Do you need business cards, envelopes, or office supplies? Are you looking to upgrade to new office furniture? Office World Incorporated in Trenton has been serving all of the Gibson County and the West Tennessee area for over 65 years. Office World is a franchise partner of OfficeZilla. Call today, 731-855-9131, or email officeworldinc@gmail.com.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson. Not too expensive, nothing too fancy, just an authentic Italian family recipe served up piping hot, just like a pizza pie should be. Locally owned and operated Carico's Pizza, home of the $8 lunch special. 2 slices and a drink for just $8. Buy the slice or the 28-inch monster. Perfect for the ball game. Carico's Pizza, 1370 Union University Drive. For catering, call 731-240-1033. For the full menu, visit caricospizza.com.
News Talk West Tennessee includes newstalk965.com and Newstalk 96.5 FM, covering local news, sports, and weather on an extensive network of platforms, including radio, social media streaming, digital TV, live stream, podcasts, all on your devices. Our local and live weekday lineup includes Daybreak with Greg Wood and G-Unit, Walker Talks with Chuck Walker and Julie Holt, The Dan Reeves Show with Gina Langley and Larry Newman, Dave Ramsey, Jackson-Madison County Schools Game of the Week, UT Vols Sports, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Local, live, News Talk West Tennessee and NewsTalk965.com. Hear it first on News Talk 96.5 FM. We might be talking about you.
I'm so broke, I can't pay attention, Lord, how it tears me up to have to see her cry. Oh, I've been spending all my nights on the internet, looking for a clue but ain't found one yet. Just a bunch of Mopars, guitars, and other shit I can't find.
Welcome back into Walker Talks here on 96.5 FM. A programming note.
Live version.
Hello. Hello. That was you, not me. That wasn't us. New website. We have relaunched the website. So if you were to go to newstalkwtn.com, it would redirect you to our new website, which is newstalk965.com. Really easy. Newstalk965.com. So there you can watch live. You can go back and watch our shows. You can read the stories, the articles that we put out. You can find information about all the Madison County schools that are covered athletically. I know Dan and them were out late last night. They were in Chester County as South Gibson's girls took on the undefeated Southside Lady Hawks. And about Dan said about halfway through the first half, the roof started leaking. I mean, and that's bad when the court gets wet. So
at Southside or at South Gibson?
Chester County. This is
Chester
the regionals.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
So they had to move. Luckily, Freed Hardeman was nice enough to let them move to their gym, but everybody had to load up. They had to go because, it was coming in pretty good, evidently, through the roof, and you can't play a game that way, obviously. So they moved over to Freed Hardeman and finished that up. Southside ended up winning, I think it was 71-38. And what's so crazy is South Gibson may have the second best team in the state. It's just very unfortunate for them that Southside looks to be the very best team in the state. So they advance on.
It's a well-coached team. I mean, the McNeil is an excellent basketball coach.
Oh, yeah, Brett McNeil, and I think they've moved up to 30-0 or 31-0 now.
There's something in the water south of the Fork of Deer River when it comes to girls playing basketball, too.
Isn't it crazy?
And if you're undefeated in basketball, that's special. So that's a tribute to his players as well. He must have a really good group of girls this year.
Yeah.
My wife is from Southside, went to Southside High School, and my mother-in-law is part of that West Tennessee Madisons, the senior ladies.
Yes,
they're like
so
Vikings,
much fun.
man. They just roll out of town and kill everything in their wake and bring home all the metal. They're wild.
I love watching those little videos in the commercials. And who
They're
also?
so good.
It's Charlotte Powell Vaughn, Jody Parrish. Who are some other people on there?
Hope Webb is my
Hope
mother-in-law.
Webb. Who else is on there?
Jada's on the team.
Jay, yeah.
Yep, Jada Slayton, of course,
Man,
is
I'll
on there.
have to get you the full roster.
I
don't
understand.
remember.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. But I've seen some of their videos and
They'll
stuff that
kill
they
you.
do. They're fun
They'll
to
kill
watch.
You know, I work with most of those ladies, and they'll come in with like a black eye one day, and I'm like, what happened?
I swear.
Oh, we just had practice.
I swear.
That's awesome. 731-265-6496. We're expecting to hear from Tom Scuteri at any moment. He has gotten out of his meeting, and so he should be calling in our advanced rehab text line. We're coming right back to that, 731-800-8398. This says the Vietnam War was absolutely disgusting. Then it goes on to say the nuclear threat is what scares me about this proxy conflict. That's what we're all afraid of, that, right?
I think the big fear is especially, smaller, tactical weapons. That there's probably a better chance of the Russians using. I'd have a hard time with the thought that Putin is willing to use a more of a strategic nuclear weapon, because the only thing he's in love with is himself, and I don't see him going in that direction.
To take
somebody who's more informed can argue me out of that point, obviously, but I'd have a harder time believing that.
I've read reports and watch the videos. I mean, this is how you consume news now a lot of times, and we completely understand, that the video power. You can get on News Talk 96.5 and watch us. We get that. I have read about Iran being, I think yesterday it was like potentially 12 days away from having nuclear capabilities. But we had that agreement with them that we had signed and they had signed where they weren't going to do. They weren't
trust them.
Well, after we signed the agreement and after they signed the agreement, we started putting, according to what I have read, again, this is dangerous because, all you got to do is write something down and then people can read it. But according to what I read, after the treaty was signed, we started putting more sanctions on there. So, well, no, we need to do this too. We need to have this as well, to the point to where Iran just essentially said, okay, never mind. We're going to keep working on this nuclear fissiles or whatever the technical term is to use this kind of technology. And if that was the case, that's a little alarming to me because I'm like, man, let's sign the agreement. Let's not have them do it. Let's have inspections and things like that, like we always have, so we don't have another nuclear power. But it appears, according to reports, that they're, yesterday 12 days away, maybe today 11 from having nuclear capabilities. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. You're on with Tony Niehoff and then Scott Bumpus, who is known as the most interesting man in Madison County.
All right. Well, there you go.
Your lucky day, Tom.
I'm flattered. It's an honor to be in such company, guys. Thank you.
Well, Tom, let's get into it. We were talking a little bit. I mean,
about Iran there. Yeah, I was listening to talk about Iran.
What do you know about that?
Yeah, so, what's very interesting is, and I think, Chuck, you and I touched on this on Tuesday or maybe last Thursday, about Iran and Israel, which is a critical element in all this. The deal that was put together with Britain and other nations, China, Russia, and the United States, Germany, and France, I believe, are the nations, to limit Iran's production in exchange for economic lifting of sanctions, and other, concessions both ways. It was denounced by a lot of members of Congress and others, and praised by some as at least a preventative slow step to try to resolve what's happening in Iran. And then, the Trump administration left that treaty and put more sanctions on Iran, and Iran has not shown indication and willingness to come back to it. The Biden administration tried to get them back, and Iran wanted the U.S. to lift the sanctions first, and the Biden administration said, no, we're not going to do that, until you promise. So talks are at an end. So this is where we are in the diplomatic arena for what that's worth, and I just say that for what it's worth,
Right.
So here's the real politic now, is there's no deal with Iran. It's not likely to happen. So what are you doing? And the number you cited, 11% or whatever, that number's going to change a little bit, but let's not focus so much on the number. Let's focus on what's happening, is that Iran is continuing slowly but surely to move toward a position where they will have the capability to have nuclear weapons at some point. Now, you see how I'm hedging my language, because these things are very mercurial, and there's the whole Israeli factor going on here, that Israel does not want to have does not want to permit Iran to have the ability to have a nuclear weapon, for a good reason, because they feel that they would be the first target of such a weapon, and this is also what's sometimes overlooked, but I think, I think, and others think, but I think that is critical, that Iran itself may not use that nuclear capability, but give it to some terrorist group to use it. You see? Because then, Iran, how do you hit a terrorist group after it brings a nuclear weapon someplace and lets it go? It's hard, whereas if the United States or Russia or Iran or any country with a nuclear weapon uses it, you can retaliate against that country.
Right.
So there's a lot of dangerous stuff here, and no one should pretend like it isn't. Now, the economic sanctions that the West had put on Iran, that's still on it, and then the additional sanctions put on by the United States under President Trump, kept by the Biden administration, have really, really, really harmed the Iranian economy. Its currency is called the rial. I think it's spelled R-I-A-L. And I read earlier this week that it has fallen to the lowest value against the dollar in. Part of the reason why it stepped up its trade with Russia is because it can get the oil, it can get inexpensive items from Russia because Russia is desperate to sell, and it gives them some economic flow, as well as with China. Remember we talked last week how the president of Iran went to China with a delegation to boost the economy. So I didn't mean to get off track, but it's a very serious matter, and every time we get these reports from independent organizations, the International Atomic Energy Group that did this last number, that gap, whatever the number is getting closer.
Yeah, it is scary to think about. And you know what? I never even thought about, was it Hezbollah or whatever that, people always feel like it's being funded by the Iranian government there in Israel. But yeah, it's such a great point, because they don't even have to use it. They can just make it and have it, and then have a terrorist organization use it that's somewhere else. And then what do you do? Who do you go after?
What do you do? Right. What do you do? Because you could say, well, like you just said, well, they're supporting Hezbollah, and they gave them they're responsible. Well, how do you say that? You can say it, but how do you prove it beyond the point where you want to take action?
Right. Well, and we've also proven, just with what happened in 9/11, was it the number 19 of the 21 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, and we went to Afghanistan and Iraq. We didn't go to Saudi Arabia. Now, I'm not saying that Saudi Arabia, the government, had anything to do with it. I'm just saying that, crooks your eyebrow up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Tom, what is going on? I found this to be interesting. In Finland, a country we don't talk about tons and tons, they're building a 124-mile fence along its border with Russia. Are Russians running into Finland?
How about that? Well, what Finland is experiencing, now that, just to be clear to listeners, that's a very long fence, but it is not the entire border of Finland. They have an 832-mile border between Russia and Finland, land border, okay? That's according to the Finnish border guard on their website, on its website, excuse me. So the fence that they're talking about at now is going to be about a seventh of that, about 124 miles of fence they're going to do in these critical areas around border crossings and what they call the riskier areas. This is a wide open border. It's kind of like, Chuck, some Americans will maybe be able to relate to it, our border between the United States and Canada. In some places, just like a little marker, you've now crossed into Canada, and at least before 9/11, there was easy to do. It's the same with the Finnish-Russian border, wooden posts or fences basically to stop cattle from crossing, not people. But because of the war, you've had a couple things. One is that a lot of young Russian males are fleeing Russia, crossing into Finland, because they don't want to be drafted into the service to fight in Ukraine. So Finland has seen an influx of I don't know if you want to call them refugees or not, but, they're leaving Russia for the reason I said.
It says 17,000 on my phone right here, just this past
17,000?
That's what it says.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's a significant number, remember. And so also, Finland is trying to get into NATO, and, that's a whole other issue, but that would mean there currently were Russian troops near the border of Finland, just when they're based. A lot of them have been pulled out to go fight in Ukraine. But Finland's also thinking down the road that if it gets into NATO, it wants to improve its border with Russia and make it more secure in a lot of ways, not just to stop the influx of people crossing over who want to flee being drafted. So that's supposed to be, the first stretch, about 2 miles, is going to be done supposedly in June. The rest of this 124 miles is done in 2026. But, I think this is an interesting story. I'm glad you brought it up, because it underscores to Americans how concerned Finland is, a neighbor of Russia, about what's happening now with Russia and the future that it faces and it sees happening in that part of Northern Europe vis-a-vis Russia. We're far away from Russia, and, we're a whole ocean and continents away from Russia. These are countries that border Russia. As you know, I called you from Estonia 2 weeks ago, and, they're one that they border Ukraine and Russia. They're worried about what's going to happen. And so I always like to watch these activities of these nations in particular, who are literally on the front line.
Yeah, absolutely. I was telling, before you joined us today, I was telling Tony and Scott about our conversation that we had, I think when you were in Estonia, just about what their perception is of Americans now, and our, with some people, not with everybody, but with some Americans, a lot more so now than in the beginning of the war, saying, gosh, should we be doing all this? Should we be giving all this? And how they felt over there. And you said that they were very worried about it, and they wanted to make sure that, they got the information out there that, yes, this is a just war and a just defense, and we feel like that Russia would come here next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they were really adamant about it. You're absolutely right. That was a great opportunity for me to hear that kind of firsthand concerns and, insight and able to share it with you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Tom. Well, let's move over to India.
Okay.
India here with the G20 has convened. And obviously, they're going to talk a lot about what's going on in Ukraine with Russia invading and some of the tensions there. But this is the big economic meeting.
Yeah, this is very interesting to me. We've talked about India before, but I'll remind listeners, India is trying very hard to be neutral and trying to position itself as perhaps a key negotiator to end the war. That's all good. The United States is benign with India on its fact that it still trades with Russia despite sanctions. India does not participate in sanctions. They usually abstain from voting on in the UN on any Russia should leave Ukraine type of resolutions like there was last week. They want to keep their position as an independent broker. And you can again debate whether that's fair or not. They have trade with the United States and Russia. Well, they're hosting this is their year to be the host of the G20, which is, you said, the world's biggest economy. And so they're coming to New Delhi today and tomorrow, and it's going to be interesting because you're going to talk about putting on your diplomatic, being at 100%. You're going to have there China, Russia, and the United States, among other countries, Britain, France, Germany, Japan. You're going to have all those folks there. Now, I saw a piece this morning that Secretary Blinken, our Secretary of State of the United States, he's there already, and he had a brief conversation with his Russian counterpart, Lavrov, at this G2. They had a little sideline chat. I haven't seen any reports on what was said, what wasn't said, but, the visual of it was interesting that, here's these two foreign ministers speaking, and we generally, come down on the side that it's always better to speak than not to speak. It wasn't like, pushing or shoving individual,
right.
Looked like a normal kind of diplomatic conversation. So, the key is that India really desperately does not want the G20 to issue any statement, condemning Russia, talking about the war. They want to focus on the economy. Problem is, even if you don't talk about the war has had a massive impact on the world economy. Everything from food supplies being shortened for Middle East and African nations because Russia and Ukraine are among the largest grain producers in the world, to, impact on agricultural products coming from South America. They export to that part of, the Central Europe. So the war has had a major impact, oil prices, of course, and other things. So it's going to be difficult for the Indians to avoid having any discussions on the war, but we'll see how they turn out. Now, it's going to conclude tomorrow and then I think Saturday, so we'll know a lot by Tuesday next time I'm on your show. But it'll be quote unquote fun to watch.
Tom, with India abstaining from these votes, is that more of them really just wanting to say, hey, look, let us be the calmer heads here and let us help work through it, or is there a thought process out there that this is them staying neutral to position themselves on the right side of this, whichever side that may be, long term? Like, what is there any thought to that?
I think you put your finger on two of the reasons why, Chuck. You and I have said this a couple times on your show in the last couple of weeks, that countries look out for their own interests. And India has its major rival is China, not Russia. It doesn't need to alienate Russia at the expense of then having two big behemoths north of it that are adversaries. So as India sees China and Russia cozying up to each other, it can see, and this is just my thoughts, I haven't spoken to anyone in the Indian government, but it can see having friendly relations with Russia as a hedge against an encroaching China. In other words, they could go to Russia and say, hey, we need your help to calm China down. That's one theory. So I also think that they do want to, as you said, the first one, want to preserve their position as an honest broker, if possible, by not voting for these resolutions condemning Russia's invasion. And the United States, as I said earlier, a couple minutes ago, has been taking a soft look at India. They don't condemn it, or they don't call it out. Israel for a long time wasn't voting either. Let's remember that. And they keep their relations with Russia. So, the United States has selective outrage on some of these countries that are walking the line between both sides, or or perhaps more fairly, not taking a side, trying to be neutral.
Right.
Indonesia is another good example of that, and they don't have a lot of trade with Russia, but they hosted the G20 a year ago, and they had the same situation. They wanted to position itself, their president, as a way to perhaps come up with, be a part of a peace negotiation. Didn't work, but, you're glad to see it. So the United States also, and this is important to say, we look out for our own interests as well.
Sure.
And it's in the United States' interest to have India that's friendly and closer and closer and closer and closer ties with the United States, economically and militarily. And that's slowly happening. India is part of a group of nations, the United States and a couple others, that have a loose, it's called the Quad,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a loose organization of military exchanges. That's what the United States wants, because we need India on, quote-unquote, our side against China. India has been fighting a border war with China for the last year and a half, and way up in the Himalayas, where it's cold, and the skirmishes happen, and they don't, so that's sort of a hot little skirmish war going on. So there's a lot of elements here as to why India can do what it is doing without the United States coming down hard on it.
Tom, we talked about this before you came on. I appreciate you coming on. But we were talking at 10, just letting everybody know where you were. And I didn't even think about this. And then we had 3 or 4 different listeners out there text in articles. But when the Pentagon stressed that there's been no theft or disappearance of the weapons that we've supplied to Ukraine, when they stressed it, I was like, well, that immediately made me think about it. I was like, wait, I wonder if this has happened. And then people were sending articles from Business Insider and a couple other sites saying, yeah, there could be up to $1 billion worth of stuff on the black market now. Why did the Pentagon feel like they needed to finally address this?
Okay, well, I'll tell you why. And there was a CBS News article or broadcast last August, 2022, that talked about diversion of a certain amount of U.S. military equipment that has been sent to Ukraine. Okay, and so what triggered this was a hearing this week on Capitol Hill by the House Armed Services Committee, which I have said before, and I'm going to say it again, continues to operate for the most part in a bipartisan manner. And they had a hearing on this very issue, what kind of oversight is there on what we're spending in Ukraine? Are the materials getting there? Are they being used, et cetera? I went to watched the hearing, and I was impressed by how well prepared many of the committee members were, Republicans and Democrats. They kept, for the most part, their focus on that issue. There was some politics, of course, being involved. Some members tried to embarrass the witnesses, but for the most part, and they asked that. So, and then later we had a briefing at the Pentagon, and the question came up again. Now, the Pentagon insists, both Colin Kahl, he's the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. This is his bailiwick, okay? Mm-hmm. He said there was a high confidence of no diversion because what we're seeing and what we're not seeing, meaning we're seeing the weapons being used effectively. This is he speaking, not me.
Right.
Being used effectively on the battlefield, and they're not seeing sales of many things on the black market. I tried to get a little clarity on that later on in the briefing. I asked the question to General Ryder, who's the Pentagon spokesperson, and he says that, there's no significant diversion, on the black market. Now, I've been told by others that there's stuff like night goggles and things like that find their way to the black market. And Ryder, is either Ryder or Cole, I can't remember which gentleman, said, and if the Russians capture some of the equipment, they overrun positions or whatever, the Russian soldiers quickly sell it on the black market for themselves, for their own money.
Right.
I was also concerned, I don't mean to ramble on here, but part of my question was, how much of a concern is this when the United States decides what to send to Ukraine? Because a lot of that stuff is sensitive, with high-end secret stuff in it. And you don't want that to fall into the hands of the Russians. And General Ryder said that's part of the calculations, but he, of course, wouldn't be it. Now, I posted that story on my various websites as well, and I got a lot of feedback, kind of like from your listeners, people accusing, not me, but accusing Pentagon of covering up and forcing CBS to retract their story. This is when it becomes very challenging to cover the military and the Pentagon because things get buried under a stamp of secret, top secret, classified,
right,
highly classified.
Then you got to find them in a garage years later.
Yeah, exactly.
It is interesting. It's something I've never thought about. I guess I missed that CBS report, but Scott had Scott had an interesting take on it. He goes, I think I would have been more comfortable if they just said yes. And oftentimes in things like this, there's a certain amount of shrinkage or loss that happens with materials, but we're doing everything we can to reduce that number. That seems to be a little bit more honest and upfront, but I mean, that may not be how business is handled up there.
Yeah. So, it was interesting that CBS then retracted some of that report, and then people say, well, they were forced to retract it, so on and so forth. Again, CBS, the people who did that report, I know some of those individuals, and I have high regard for them. People also remember what happened in Afghanistan where the United States left, and those weapons, a lot of weapons were left behind. In fact, I saw a story over the nighttime where the Taliban are figuring out how to drive some of the helicopters and stuff like that.
Oh, good.
But that's a different situation. And I'm not apologizing for it. That's a different situation because we withdrew from that country. The Afghan military had those weapons, and the ones they didn't fly out, they're considering they were left there. So it's an apples and oranges thing. But according to the Pentagon, we don't have U.S. troops allegedly in Ukraine to follow them. Once they get to the Polish-Ukraine border, that's the end of kind of how the United States supervises delivery of these weapons, okay? Mm-hmm. So you have to you rely on the Ukrainians to verify that they're getting there.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. It is absolutely wild to think about because so much money, but then once you give it, I don't know a good comparison. This is a weak one, but I tell my kids sometimes, like if you see somebody and they need something, if you're walking through town and you give them money, you're hoping that they do the very best thing that they could do with that money and go get food or whatever it is they're going to do. Now, if they do something nefarious, you gave it with the best of intentions, but this seems to be different here.
Yeah. The CBS report, the original report, just so listeners who don't know what we're talking about won't be scratching their heads. The CBS report, the initial report, had one source, a source saying only 30% of the weapons sent to Ukraine made it to the battlefield, okay? Now, that is one source,
Right.
And that, but CBS included it in there to kind of show what the role is. I was looking after this hearing. Finland thought that some of the stuff was, making its way to the black market. The Russians have said some have been making it to the black market. It's really, really just difficult to say without visually seeing these things there on the black market.
Right. No, absolutely. Tom, I know you got to go. We've got one quick question for you.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I got time.
Okay.
I got time for
you. What about, we say it every time you're on here. I feel like we're pushing people. What about the U.S. military making plans to dodge China's growing arsenal of long-range missiles by spreading jets and airmen across bases in the Pacific?
Yeah, this is a new plan that came out this week, rumblings of it. China has what they call the first island tier, the second island tier, and you can visualize this if you're any good at geography. The first island tier would be like Taiwan and Okinawa and the Philippines, the islands close to China. And then you have the second island tier with like Guam and Wake Island, and then third island tier, it's close to the United States. So instead of having all our assets like in one location, like the big base on Guam, to make it like a Pearl Harbor situation, essentially, that one good strike could take out a lot of U.S. arms and equipment, The idea by the Air Force is to spread it out, across bases across the Pacific. And that sounds pretty good, but then the RAND Corporation, which is a think tank in California that does a lot of studies on military and international defense issues, and they're pretty well respected. They looked at this plan, they said, yeah, it sounds great, but then what you do is you create a lot more logistical and defensive needs because you got to figure out how to supply all these places and defend all these places. So it's not as easy as thinking, oh yeah, let's spread it all out to diversify and to make it tougher for the Chinese or anybody, but the Chinese to attack us at one or two or three spots. This is a brand new story, and I'll guarantee you, as much as I guarantee anything,
right.
that at some point this year, it'll go before that same House Armed Services Committee, maybe a subcommittee, and they'll haul up the Air Force folks and the Pentagon folks to talk about this, both in the public sessions and then in the private section, because this is an important plan. You know, how we deal with China, the strategy of dealing with China is completely different than how we're helping Ukraine because of the geographic distances, the fact that it's water. You get all. Your listeners don't need me to explain all that. Mm-hmm. And so the Pentagon really is kind of scrambling on how to figure this out.
Well, I mean, I just thought while you're talking there, back to World War II, the entire Pacific fleet of the military was at Pearl Harbor. So
right.
Maybe they're thinking like, well, we shouldn't have another Pearl Harbor.
Right. No, and that's part of the thinking. And that's, again, everyone say, yeah, that's pretty good thinking. And the Rand Corporation, to be clear, wasn't saying it's a bad idea. They're just saying, hey, to make this idea work, you have to also consider B, C, and D.
Right.
You know, how you supply it, how you defend it, et cetera. So it's a great idea, and we'll see how it gels and bubbles up and what the next steps will be.
Tom, our strategy during the Cold War, obviously, when we're dealing with the former Soviet Union, was about proximity. You know, when we're talking about strategic nuclear weapons, we're positioning all of our strategic fleet, our Air Force fleet across the northern tier of the U.S., plus closer things inside Europe, submarine fleet and things like that. How does in your opinion, how does our strategy differ now that we're looking at China more so than the Russians as far as that same deal?
Yeah. So part of the strategy that you mentioned with the Soviet Union also had what was known as containment, where you try to get friendly nations in case, like NATO, for example, what was then Germany was the front line at the Warsaw Pact, and you surround them so Russia and the case Soviet Union can expand. This goes back a little bit what we're saying about India. So, you have forward operations in countries like South Korea, Japan, Australia, and ideally India at some point, and then you have, and possibly the Philippines now, because they're warming up the United States again, and the United States now is going to have access to a couple of bases in the Philippines again. Very critical because they're very close to China. So that would be that first island kind of defense that I mentioned a few moments ago. It's different than that because the idea is there's a phrase they talk about in Congress about Taiwan, that you want to give Taiwan enough weapons and capabilities to make it a porcupine. In other words, so China won't want to try to grab it without getting hurt very badly. So that's a much different type of strategy than we saw with the Soviet Union of containment and essentially nuclear threat. The mutual assured destruction, the MAD theory that both sides had, that we knew we can wipe each other out with nuclear weapons. That's not part of the strategy per se, although, of course, our triad of nuclear weapons is always there, and there's a debate on how to update that going on as well.
It can be argued that we became adversarial with the Soviet Union far before the end of World War II. And obviously, as it ended and everything started getting divvied up inside Europe, is where it really kind of the top got blown off of it. Where do you see our relationship with China as opposed to that right now? Because I don't. Obviously, there are issues that need to get worked out between the two countries. But do you see us inching towards that level of an adversarial relationship like we had with the Soviets?
I think we are at that level in a different context. But because China is considered what they call the pacing challenge at the Pentagon, they see China as the prime adversary, prime competitor with the United States because of its ability to militarily, economically, culturally as well. By culturally, I mean you'll be able to go into countries and influence their governments more so than Russia. They see China up until now, and I'll go into that in a second. Russia, even before the war in Ukraine, was seen as an adversary, but less of an organized adversary. And I think the war in Ukraine shows that was accurate. Now, China's economy may not be as strong as we once thought. The COVID really hit China hard in a lot of ways. They've had unrest in their country. And the other thing some Pentagon folks like to remind reporters of is that China has not fought a war since the late 1970s when it sort of went against Vietnam and was a draw, essentially. So, their military, while big and powerful and having more ships than us perhaps and more hypersonics, nevertheless is untested, where the United States military, for better or worse, has had some experience over the last 20, 30 years. Most of it in counterterrorism, but still, Ukraine shows the value of what U.S. military tactics can be on the ground. This is a tough situation. People aren't talking to each other. China and the United States were not talking to each other. They're cozying up to Russia. Their economic reach into Africa, is getting stronger. They're looking at bases in South America. So, they have an aggressive game plan, as we said at the beginning of the show, to further their country's interests. And that's why the relationship between the two countries is fraught with danger, especially when you're not talking and have no areas of exchange. About a year ago, and in the last year, President Biden spoke with President Xi of China, and they agreed to set up conversations between respective, people in the Commerce Department, people in the State Department, the Pentagon. And they started to have those, not the top people, but the people who do the work, so to speak, the lower, mid-level people, and that's important. And that was a good step forward. And then, it changed this year. The balloon thing, of course, really hurt efforts there as well.
Man, there's so much going, and it is, Scott, your point, and Tony, yours too. I mean, these are historically things that we're tied to. I mean, administrations can change, leaderships can change, but historically we're still so connected with who's enemies, who's friends, things like that.
I just think that the world, since the Ukraine war, really crystallized and the idea that there's a whole change in who's on whose side, for lack of better terms. NATO's gotten on paper stronger. You see, we're talking about India, Indonesia, these independent sort of neutral countries, Brazil, so forth. That there's a shift going on in the world of economic shifts and military shifts and alliances and non-alliances that we're not through with yet. Iran and Israel are good going back there. I know we're running out of time maybe, but Iran and Israel is a good example. You have a very right-wing government in Iran, very hawkish government, in Israel, very hawkish government in Israel. It makes the United States nervous. The Pentagon's nervous about the State Department because, they don't want to have a conflict blow up in the Middle East, no pun intended, between Iran and Israel. And so, there's that dynamic has changed where Israel was always someone you could kind of guess what they were going to do, the United States. So I'm kind of like, wow, every day I get up, it's who's lining up where, who's not lining up anywhere.
And we would have to, right, help Israel in that situation if Israel does go to war with whomever, right? Or if something were to happen there, it would kind of split our efforts, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, and there's a concern that Israel will drag the United States into some kind of conflict, as you just said.
Well, I want to get more into this on Tuesday, and then we've got a million messages that have come in, and thank you for staying with us.
Yeah, sure.
A little bit longer, and I'm gonna put this to Tuesday as well. It said, ask Tom about BRICS. The Brazil, India, Russia, China.
Yeah, I almost mentioned BRIC in that last little spiel of mine because that's one of the important for listeners who don't know what that is. That's an economic group: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and many, many others. Last year, at BRICS meeting, they were talking about bringing in Mexico, for example, as another country. Just think about all these countries I just mentioned. Those four, the economies of those countries are big countries. And you bring in these non-aligned nations. That's a big, powerful economic offset to the G2, for example. Okay,
right.
And so when you have economy, really, so it's Brazil, China, there's 5 of them. Brazil, China, India, and Russia, and South Africa. Those are the 5 BRIC nations, okay?
Okay.
Brazil, that means BRIC. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's BRICS, BRICS, the first letter of each country, okay? Now, they have 41% of the world's population. India and China are the 2 most biggest countries people-wise, So now you talk about adding, say, Argentina to them, which just talked about it. You talk about adding Mexico to them, okay. Maybe Indonesia was talked about it. Maybe even Saudi Arabia has been talked about it. So just think about those countries I just mentioned. You can add them to that. The powerful economic force that could be. So there you go. You have that's an important factor. So whoever sent that in as a text is on the ball in regards to what we were talking about.
Absolutely. Tom Scuteri, you're the absolute very best in the business. There is no doubt. You let us take you wherever our mind goes, brother. We appreciate you so much.
All right, man. You have a great day and have a great weekend.
You too, brother. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. I'll tell you guys.
That's how you answer a question.
I mean, what are you looking for? I mean, come on. If you're out there listening right now, and this matters. BRICS, NATO, we're all on the Cubs, Cardinals, Reds. The rosters seem to be filling themselves up, don't they?
Yes, sir. You can't nod on the radio, can you?
Yeah, well, we're on TV. Yeah, we're on TV too. We're about that.
There seems to be more parity in the world economic battlefield.
Yeah, well, ones would say that happened in the 90s. We started signing all these NAFTA, these free trade agreements and things like that. We used to make things here. It's all right. Now we get TVs for $200, so win-win. We'll be right back. You're listening to Walker Talks.
Vintage doesn't always mean long-lasting. As your home systems age, your repair costs, utility bills, and breakdowns rise. During Hiller's Vintage Showdown, we're giving away a free new system to the owner of the oldest HVAC unit. Submit a picture of your old equipment online to see if you qualify as the winner. Everybody wins with trade-in credits plus 0% financing for up to 48 months with approved credit on select new HVAC systems. Enter to win now at happyhiller.com.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi, I'm Terica Smith, a local attorney and proud JMCSS graduate, but I'm also a JMCSS parent. We chose Jackson Madison County Schools for educational options that are innovative and challenging. Whether it's the Academic Academy at Northeast or early college and career opportunities at JCM Early College High, JMCSS offers classes and programs that will prepare my son for college and beyond. Plus, JMCSS is a Level 5 district and tuition free. It just makes sense.
Hi, I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System. With an increased focus in the fine arts, athletics, workforce development, and early career opportunities for students, there's never been a better time to choose us. Tuition-free, Jackson-Madison County Schools. Visit jmcss.org today to schedule a tour or call 731-345-7011.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson.
News Talk West Tennessee includes newstalk965.com and Newstalk 96.5 FM, covering local news, sports, and weather on an extensive network of platforms, including radio, social media streaming, digital TV, live stream, podcasts, all on your devices. Our local and live weekday lineup includes Daybreak with Greg Wood and G-Unit, Walker Talks with Chuck Walker and Julie Holt, The Dan Reeves Show with Gina Langley and Larry Newman, Dave Ramsey, Jackson-Madison County Schools Game of the Week, UT Vols Sports, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Weeklies, local, live, News Talk West Tennessee and NewsTalk965.com. Hear it first on News Talk 96.5 FM. We might be talking about you. The Rocket is coming to Jackson April 13th, Meridian Baptist Church. Roger Clemens will be the guest at the 4th annual benefit to the Trey Lindsey Scholarship. Roger Clemens has an unprecedented 7 Cy Young Awards, 354 wins, and 4,672 strikeouts. Clemens' career spanned 24 years with the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and Astros. The 11-time All-Star, winning 2 World Series with the New York Yankees. Silent auction is huge with sports celebrity memorabilia along with hunts, duck calls, vacation packages, restaurant packages, and more. Follow posts on Facebook mentioning items leading up to the event. Call 731-217-7187, 731-217-7187 for table sponsor or ticket information. Brought to you by Work Care Resources and News Talk 96.5 FM and NewsTalkWTN.com.
When you need a heart expert, you need an expert with heart. Corbin Cardiology is dedicated to providing the highest quality cardiovascular care in West Tennessee. At Corbin Cardiology, our patient-centered approach, along with a full array of diagnostic imaging services, sets us apart from other cardiovascular clinics. Corbin Cardiology has clinics in Bartlett, Dyersburg, Lexington, and the newest location is now open in Jackson at 58 Murray Guard Drive. To schedule an appointment in office or by telemedicine, visit CorbinCardiology.com
or call 731-513-5701.
Looking to add a little spice to your love life?
Nothing adds spice like gunpowder.
Jackson's only indoor shooting range, date night at the range. Here's what you lovebirds get: a shooting lane for 2 targets, 100 rounds of ammo, eye and ear protection, and a $30 gift certificate to Texas Roadhouse. All for just $99.99.
Now that's firepower.
Perfect for a gift card from the range. The Range, 2310 North Highland Avenue in Jackson.
Go to therange.com.
Welcome back in to Walker Talks with Chuck and Tony Niehoff, and a little bit of music for you guys there. It's transitioning from one song to the next. Sometimes I'll just put it on a loop. You like Gary Allan?
That's a great song.
I love some Gary Allan. He's my very favorite singer that everybody knows.
It's in Tunica, either just happened or is coming up real soon.
He loves going to Tunica.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen him, I guess, twice there. He's my favorite.
I saw him at Tennessee River Run a few years back.
Oh, but that was cool.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Was he there? Was Daryl Worley playing at that too?
Yeah, that was one of his when he was still doing it at the park.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Better be careful what you do at those parks. That's a whole new show, but just saying. 731-265-6496. You guys got a big old heaping version of Tom Scuteri today, and you're welcome for that. And we thank Tom so much. You can find Tom out there like on Twitter and things like that. It's Tom Scuteri, SQUITIERI. I'm not sure where that name comes from. It ends in a vowel, so I'm assuming Italian. I don't know. But he is one of the smartest and most interesting people out there. And you can read his work, listen every Tuesday and Thursday to him here on Walker Talks with us. But you can read his work. He is the reporter that we all say we want. I mean, hey, here's the information. Here's what happened. Not tons of conjecture and stuff like that. Just here it is. This is what they're saying.
Yep.
This is what it could lead to. He'll give you his opinion if you ask for it, and I really appreciate that. But one of the most knowledgeable men out there when it comes to stuff like this.
Don't play Stump Tom. You'll lose.
Oh, no. Yeah. This was, I told him. Matter of fact, he's just sent me a message during the break, said, Chuck, that was really enjoyable. I knew he would. I knew you guys would love him. Yeah, Tom's the best. 731-800-8398 is our advanced rehab text line. We've gotten a little bit behind there, but fear not. We're going to catch up. 731-800-8398. 8398. Chuck, do you remember when a soldier in the Navy, I think it was, who called your show some months ago when you first began at 96.5? He had confirmed, that was 7 weeks ago, or 6.5.
That'd be a sailor too, wouldn't it?
Yeah. He said he had confirmed all wars are bankers' wars and saying that the bottom line of why militarism sells worldwide is due to mass hypnotism and devious monetary schemes. Remember that? This is not an inside. No, I don't. I don't remember that. Nothing about hypnotism. I'll handle the hypnotism here. This comes in and says, digging the Sturgill Simpson bumper music. All right, someone call security. Security!
Wow.
Security. Go on, have a seat there, my man. This comes in. It says, great interview. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Goes on to say, hold on, y'all say some words real quick. Why don't we change these cameras over? Y'all say some words.
Sure.
No
yeah,
pressure.
the one thing I was wanted to ask, and we didn't have time, was what's the current Russian support? Maybe we can get that next week with him because, the Russia suppresses all their social media.
This is what I love about reporting and finding things. You can find whatever you're looking for. I've read stuff from a guy that I really like, Peter Zeihan, Zeihan. He calls himself a geopolitical expert, I think.
I call myself that as well, too. You
Well,
can call yourself whatever you want.
Well, no, not anymore. You can't. Not anymore. You can't. But yes, Peter said that he believes that in 10 years, China, they'll starve to death. The people of China will starve to death because they're not making enough adjustments, like on their food and the population they're growing. Says the same thing about Russia, or similar things about Russia.
Wait,
Thinks that this could have been.
So you're saying that there's pretext for the thought that Russia might engage into a military operation and go broke doing it? No,
I don't know.
That's never happened.
Never.
Before.
Good morning, Gabe. How are you doing?
Good. Y'all talking about national stuff and global stuff. Like this is.
We're going to get to the roundabout real quick, though.
Yeah.
So.
No, hey, and listen to me. If you want to borrow some pen and paper to write some of these things down, educate yourself, Gabe. Feel free. Don't be intimidated in this room.
I am.
This
already.
room of savants. This comes in. Now this is the information I was looking for. This says the people of Donbass voted in January 2022 to annex from Ukraine as an independent state since their own government was waging a civil war against them. I feel like that story gets left out when people start saying stuff like the unprovoked and illegal invasion of Ukraine. Put it this way, Russia's invasion of the Donbass was more legal than the U.S.'s invasion of Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, Somalia, etc. I did not know that there was a Marjorie Taylor Greene in the Ukraine. Just red state, blue state. Y'all heard of that, right? When she said, I think we talked about it last week when you were here, Scott. When she
went to Ukraine.
No, I doubt it. She said maybe we should have a divorce. Maybe the red states.
Yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what? It's not working, guys.
Like how Texas talks about they want to be independent now.
But what about the states like you always hear the swings?
That didn't work out when they tried it the first time either. So.
You always hear about these big swing states. Michigan, Pennsylvania. I guess maybe Georgia is a swing state now. I mean, do we see them every other weekend? Who do they go to in this red and blue? Like, when do you get? I mean, who claims them on their taxes?
Go out this weekend. I've got Georgia.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know that was the most well thought out tweet, but I too have tweeted drunk. So what do you? I mean, what are you going to do?
I think she was sober. Like, I don't think she was drunk.
Yeah, there's no good excuse
that
there.
is her in her right mind.
There's no good excuse
That's
there.
what that was.
This comes in, said BRICS would kill the U.S. petrodollar, especially if the Saudis join them. If Saudi did join BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, until Tom said that, I thought the S was just the plurality. But the S is South Africa, and the U.S. would invade them. Okay. But that's a whole lot of people, though. I don't know. We can't invade all of those people, can we?
That acronym's going to get really long before it's over with.
you wonder, Trump didn't he get a deal with Mexico? Or he almost did?
We talking about when he's going to have them pay for the wall?
No. Oh. Some economic trading bill of something.
Oh, yes.
Well,
yes.
we have one, right? Didn't it get signed?
With Mexico?
I thought we did.
I mean, do we care? I mean, we're talking about
we
Brazil,
want cheap
Russia,
avocados,
India.
right?
I mean, I guess every little bit helps, but we should really be making a deal with the cartel. They seem to be better armed.
Well,
it says, talk about the other side of BRICS. Is the international stop, man. We're having too smart of a show. I can't do this. I'm not going to. All right, this comes in and says, the first casualty when war comes is the truth. Senator Hiram Johnson, 1917. Okay, so the first casualty of war when war comes is the truth. It's an interesting quote. Seems like a good thing to put like in Japanese on your lower back. This says, can the other countries really compete with the USA? We have more aircraft carriers than the rest of the world combined, plus our allies. Thoughts?
Yes.
Yes, we
yes,
do.
Or
yes,
yes, other countries can compete with the U.S.
I think so too.
You know, we've pure military might has never been the guarantor of victory.
It's true. Seems like something happened in like 1776, right?
Well, there's one of them.
Yeah, there's one. There's one. Yeah, this is
now. Can we be beaten? All things, other things being equal. That's a different question right there. But are we at all at risk? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we have to take this serious. Especially,
Sure
I think we have to take what other countries are doing. And Gabe, I don't know how much you look into this or any interest that you have in this are, but I think we need to see what other countries are doing and how their diplomacy amongst one another is, because this isn't just hammer, meet, nail anymore with these economies and these people and these military mights. And I've seen all the same numbers you have, where the United States spends more than the next, 9 countries combined militarily. But it seems like these other militaries have stuff too. And if they all get together, I don't know what that looks like. And I'm scared to death that we may find out, and I sure hope we don't.
I don't know enough to weigh in heavily. I do think, like you said, everything is so much more nuanced than it was, a century ago or a generation ago. You're right. Like, this doesn't come down to whoever has the most toys or stuff is going to automatically win anything.
I don't think there's a direct correlation between how much you spend in defense and the size of your military. We can take, all this money that's going to Ukraine and these things that either are or are not going into the black market. I got to assume that's part of that military spending budget, whether that's arming a soldier up at Fort Campbell or a rifle that did or did not end up on the black market in Ukraine. That's all one and the same. So just spending money on military isn't necessarily equal in military might.
Well, and Tony had an interesting story. This is not necessarily the military, but when you served in not served in Congress, but like when Tony was there hanging out.
I was just an intern. I was
I
low
didn't
on
mean
the
he
totem pole.
served there, but you know what I'm saying. Like he actually brought them things. He served like a waiter.
I opened the mail. When the anthrax screams stuff was going on. So
well,
I was like a guinea pig.
They had to prioritize all that. But he said that back then when was this, Tony? Early
2002, summer
2002, an ink cartridge. For all the Congress people, all the printers and stuff, $250 for one cartridge. You could buy it at Walmart at the time for $20.
Sure.
But they were paying. So think about there was 435 representatives there, 435, something like that, 250. That's just one thing. We've all heard the stories of sodas, in the military, $74 by the time we get it to these war-torn places per soda. I mean, so that probably a lot of that stuff over inflation there of the cost of goods is being eat up.
And I'm realistic when it comes to that, because remember they used to talk about the $200 toilet seat or $2,000 toilet seat, whatever it was back several years ago. And I think you can get real simplistic in saying we spent X number of dollars on a printer cartridge. Well, I really don't think that there's anybody in the purchasing at the government level who is purchasing things down to the detail of a printer cartridge. We are likely taking a bid on supplies from a supplier that says for X number of $50 million, I'm going to supply you.
You're probably right there. I would agree with that.
And so some of those things are you probably got a bargain on, and the profit margin was made up on the other pieces of it as well. So I don't think we're not going to balance the budget by just saying, we're going to start going to Walmart to pick up printer cartridges. I think it's probably a little bit more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. This comes in our Advanced Rehab text line number 731-800-8398. This comes in. This is from Reuters, maybe? It says, nope, just news, Google News. It says more than half of the world will be overweight or obese by 2035.
Turn that camera off me.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I got a hot take on that if you want to.
I've got
too much
one
red
too.
40.
I think that it's one of the reasons why I'm waiting for these bills that are currently, Tony, again, that is so loud. If some of these bills that are in state legislation to get passed, I'm ready for everyone who loves children, including me. I'm ready for our representatives and senators and everybody. And then I think the rest of the nation would get behind us. I do believe that because there is so much junk out there that we could feed our kids, and we do feed our kids. I've been guilty of this. I've gone through fast food lines, so I'm a terrible parent as well. Candy, things like that. I think that we should start, and I think Tennessee is the state to do it, we should start texting our representatives, our government, the caloric intake that our children eat for safety reasons, because honestly, juvenile diabetes, childhood obesity, those are at record highs, and we have that here in Tennessee. And we do love our kids here, and the government loves our kids here. So we should co-parent with the government and send them our updates.
I'm not with you on that piece of it, and let me throw out my thought on all this.
All right.
And I don't think it's any one specific thing. And I can tell you this. We talked last week about I had this hip replacement back a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, prior to that, now I've always weighed more than I'm supposed to, but I was still in good shape. I was still active. I was still going and doing.
Good fighting, man.
Yeah, nowhere near. The clothes that I was wearing then don't fit me now. But the last year, I have been on the couch, literally on the couch. It's not necessarily of what I'm eating, because I still try to eat like my grandparents did. I try to not eat anything out of a box. Eat food that you got to cook and will spoil after several days if you don't cook it.
Right.
Try to live by that. But man, when I was a kid, and I hate to go all Gen X / getting close to a boomer on you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't sit around when I was a kid. I played Little League Baseball. When I wasn't playing Little League Baseball, we had a game going in the front yard. We played, and we were outside a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more than my kids ever were. Now, I didn't have options. There was, and this is still, a part of that time still living in the Chicago area, where I did have more than 3 channels of television to watch. There was actually 6. That's how big of a city Chicago was at the time.
Right.
But, If I had to staying inside was a punishment to me as a kid, now it might come off as being a treat.
Yeah. All right. Here's where because I think I have a different take than Scott, and some of that is just personally some things that I've gone through in the last 3 or 4 years that have really opened my eyes to the things that we have readily available for kids to. Chuck, piggybacking on what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows that smoking and cigarettes are unhealthy, right?
It's very unfortunate news. But
yeah, I know.
True.
Well, it is, and vaping's the same thing. Maybe not to that extent, yeah. But I think the jury's still out on that.
Oh yeah,
but
we're still waiting on all the tests to come back with that. Surely.
But the things that we do to make sure that those don't get in the hands of children, and you also have to talk about brain development and how kids, especially teenagers, are impulsive and they don't know how to balance that in moderation and blah 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 blah. A lot of adults don't know how to balance that and use moderation and all of that stuff either. But the ingredients we have in processed food that line the aisles of Kroger, Walmart, whatever else, and to Scott's point, kids aren't as active anymore. Adults aren't as active anymore. But there is such a connection, I think, with stress, mental health, the way that we are attracted to those things for comfort, and it's an endless loop and cycle of an unhealthy life. Now, I'm not, and this may sound extremely judgmental, and I'm not meaning it that way at all. But Chuck, to your point, we have legislators that say they want to protect our children and they care about our children. Tennessee is in the bottom 10 consistently of child health care, of maternal health care for mothers. These are things that could be at least addressed in Nashville. Conversations could be had, but I understand also there is so much money that is on that side of it. To push back against corporations like that would be really hard. But there's got to be something that we can do, because, like I said, that whether you want to talk about high fructose corn syrup, sugar, fat, all of those things that are readily available that a kid could just go and buy, and guess what? Kids they're drawn to that stuff.
And parents are too, especially as working as much as they are, because it's cheap and it's easy.
That's right. Yes, it's cheap, it's easy, it tastes great, it makes you feel good right when you eat it. and then it's the opposite effect, about an hour later.
Right.
There was a time in my 30s, I was drinking a lot. I was eating really bad stuff. I got up to about 230 pounds and I wasn't healthy. And I connected all of those things to stress levels. It was a comfort for me to eat just really bad stuff because I got in a habit to where that felt good. And I was still pretty active. I really was. And
sounds a lot like me now. Still active.
Yeah, but
I eat like I'm 9.
I like all that stuff. And I was, in my 30s, and then I got COVID and I couldn't taste anything. So, I wasn't drawn to those really, high fat, high sugar stuff. And I just, for 6 months, I didn't have taste. So I just quit eating.
Start grazing out of the front yard.
So COVID saved your health. How about that?
Well, I'm about at 190, between 190 and 195 now.
But you're how tall?
6'2".
Yeah.
So I about 40 pounds, though, is what I ended up losing. But I felt so much like I was much more clear mentally, just without putting all of that stuff in my body.
Yeah, the processed foods does so much damage to you, and I think it's just now becoming a subject that people are willing to talk about.
And listen, I think the government's going to get to it, but first, all you people got to quit taking your kids to drag shows first. I mean, one thing at a time.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
we're going to save them one kid at a time.
We're going to save, they're going to save
maybe
your
if they've
children.
served healthy foods there, we could take them home.
Well, I have taken it on myself to email the caloric intake from all of my children, all 4 of my kids, every time they have a meal to my representatives, and I think you guys should do the same. Because we should co-parent. Good morning and welcome in.
Hey, you're talking about food.
We were.
The reason I sent that in about half the people in the world will be fat. Just a few more years. You had just read that China was running out of food and they was going to starve to death.
Well, that's some of the reports I've seen.
So you're going to hear everything. And here's something I heard 15 years ago. HBO was free for 3 days. They were trying to show people how unhealthy food is, and this is back when the governor of New York and maybe the mayor of New York City was going to make it illegal to buy more than 16 ounces of Coca-Cola.
I remember this, yeah.
I remember that too.
And of course, if you're drinking those things, it messes with your liver and gives you all kinds of diseases and stuff when you really go after it every day.
Right.
But they said that for the American people to eat healthy, we would have to have 40% more Hispanics come up here and do the labor to pick the food for us to be able to eat it. The reason so many people are eating junk food is there's not that much healthy food to go around everybody.
Well, look at what's in the grocery store. What's in the grocery store? What 80% of the grocery store is the center. I've always been told if you want to eat healthy, you just eat what's on the outside of the grocery store.
And to be fair, for
those huge
go ahead, stores, those things in the middle preserve. You can keep them on the shelves for months.
Which that goes back to the economic factor.
And they taste good.
There's a documentary called Food Incorporated, came out about 10 years ago. If you had not had the chance to catch it, go and do it. And it talks about the economic machine behind the processed food business. And it'll change the way you shop for a while, because it certainly did with us. I ended up doing a whole lot more shopping at farmers market than the Kroger. I started buying around those edges, like Tony was talking about, a whole lot more than on the other.
It's a great idea.
And again, start buying stuff that takes you 30 minutes to cook, and you will come off off better.
And that is a beautiful. And I was being a little facetious earlier about emailing the representative, just making a little joke, but food is important. And Gabe, to your point, my contention would be, and I know, Bull, you know about this, my contention would be a lot of the preservative, even in the good stuff, right? We've got raw chicken, and we're going to throw it on the grill. Okay, that's pretty good for you. Chicken breast, that's nice. That's not going to, well, I mean, depending on the hormones and stuff like that in there, I would say that, yes, I agree with you about mental health, but I'm a big advocate, when I'm being serious about this topic, I'm a big advocate in a lot of our mental health issues from some of the most tragic things we can think of that happens with young people and what they do sometimes to adults and everybody else, is there is a change. And I may have seen this on that documentary, but I need to go back and rewatch it, because it's honestly something you should watch every 6 months just to have heightened awareness. But there was a change in food. I'm so old now. 40 years seems like 1960, but that actually isn't what 40 years was. But there's probably a change 50 or 60 years ago in our foods and how things were, are made and preserved and what got passed through.
Correct. And keeping in mind, Food Incorporated, it's a documentary and it's still an opinion,
Right.
So you've got to take everything with a grain of salt. I am not part of the, and I hesitate to use the word, the straight organic cult that exists.
All those weird hippie granola people with the Birkenstocks.
Is there anything wrong with organic food? No, there's absolutely not. But to say that unless it's organic, then it's going to be badly unhealthy for you, I think is a mistruth as well. Spent a lot of time talking to my brother-in-law who has an agricultural background, farmer, and actually works for I'm not going to call a name, works for a local fertilizer distributor now. Really gave me a good education on the difference between whether something is straight organic from be it chickens, be it vegetables, and things that will last on the shelf for 6 months. It's not all one or the other.
Well, it's organic is another. It's a buzzword. It fits right into the
marketing term
capitalistic culture because protein was the same way 20 years ago. You remember that? You could have, if they're going to market something, some granola bar, it's like 15 grams of protein, but then it's also like 200 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be, it's a marketing ploy.
Now, on that, you can't tell me when you go to a meat section at a local grocery store and you look and you see a package of chicken breasts and the thing is the size of a catcher's mitt. There's something funky going on.
Right. And that's my real point. My real point is if we want to affect and we want to do the research, and Bull, I want you to chime in here. If we want to do this research on protecting our children and things that are happening from developmental delays to you talked about depression and all this stuff, all these mental things that go on. I'm telling you, all kidding aside, the science, which sometimes is a bad word, and sometimes I don't like science either. I got to be in science. But the science will tell you it is in our foods. Go ahead, Bull.
There's a lot of talk about on food. It's easy to raise corn. You can have 3 people working together and work, 2,000 acres and harvest a 2,000 acre corn crop. But to pick 1 acre of tobacco, I was talking to a guy up in Kentucky. He said he had 85 people from Mexico or Hispanics picked 1 acre of his tobacco in 1 hour. But it took 85 people. And just, 3 people can harvest a 2,000 acre corn crop over, several weeks. So that's why there's so much corn. And corn makes our Coca-Colas. It feeds our chickens, hogs, and cows. And 80% of the carbon in your body comes from corn.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I had forgotten what that figure was, but there was a stat that's very similar to that. That was part of that Food Incorporated.
I'm going to go back and rewatch that.
Go watch it. Go watch it.
Something else I also realized, and this sort of kind of gets it down to brass tacks. I realized, and maybe this was something mental that was going on or a cycle that I was in. I can survive on a lot less food than I thought whenever I was eating a lot of that.
Try buying food and then going camping with it and realize how much you bring back.
Yeah. I mean, that's there was some, I started sort of monitoring when I wanted these things. And this is when I taught 8th grade. And as soon as my last class was over, I was teaching out at Northeast Middle then, I went straight to Pilot right down the road and got 2 pieces of that pizza, a bag of chips, and a sugar loaded energy drink. And it was like, I looked forward to that, but it's because my stress level was like through the roof. That's what I was drawn to. And then once I just sort of started making that connection and changing those things around, it really helped once I, it was hard at first, but it's like any other vice that you have. Like you just get in this.
There are food, because I've done questionable, stupid things in my life.
No.
And yeah, who would have thought? And I've never had a trouble ever saying I'm not going to do, except for, and I'm counting cigarettes too when I was a kid, except for Diet Mountain Dews. I used to drink 4 or 5 Diet Mountain Dews every single day.
My dad did that.
And then one day I was like, I got to quit doing this. People started making fun of people drinking Diet Mountain Dew. It was like, hillbillies in eastern Kentucky. It's like, I better quit.
Yellow 5 too.
It was a bad
right?
look.
At least it was Diet Mountain Dew. You're making good choices.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do remember when I quit, and I quit cold turkey for and I had quit other things too, and never had a problem, never. But when I quit Diet Mountain Dew, I had headaches for hours.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I had headaches.
Sure.
I had chills. It was a really weird thing for about 6 weeks. And I'm like, good Lord, the only thing I've changed up is this Diet Mountain Dew.
Your body adapts to what you're putting into it, and when you stop putting it in there, it's going to rebel against you.
I quit putting other things in there. It was no problem.
You mentioned the East Kentucky stuff, though. On a documentary about that, they used Mountain Dew as an antidepressant. Right? Because the caffeine hit and the sugar hit.
Yeah.
Now it rotted their teeth and it destroyed their bodies, but there is something to that. Like, this stuff it's readily available to anybody, and it is addictive.
Yeah. Like, I tell you what came to mind when you were talking, Gabe, about going to the Quick Mart and getting the food. I'm the shopper for our family, and a lot of people know I've got 4 kids. I'm shopping for 6 people, so I'm the person providing the food for them. So I have to make the choices of what I'm buying. And yes, it's easy to go get the goldfish. The kids love it, but when you really read about what goldfish is, it's like a grade D food. Even though it's baked. It's supposed to be good for you. It's really not that good for you.
Are you talking about crackers?
The crackers.
I thought y'all were frying up some gold.
No.
Those are good for you.
But you're right. You go to the store, you go to Sam's, you can buy bulk this and bulk that. 90% of the stuff in there is just not that good for you. But you want your kids to be happy. So I think parents across America have this struggle. The one who shops, at least, is like, I want my kids to like what they eat. I want them to be happy, but at the same time, I want to be healthy. So I think it's a difficult decision for parents.
I just want James at Picasso to make good food choices on my behalf.
Hey, he's doing all right, I think.
Go ahead, Bull.
A question came up about the size of the specimens in the grocery store. A friend of mine, he raises hogs, and if you think about it, if you go to a health spa and you meet some teenage boys and they're selling testosterone, you got to pay a lot of money for it. Or if you go to a legal place and get the injections in your hip, that's expensive too. So the farmers are not giving the hogs testosterone. The reason the hogs are so wonderful is through breeding, and the people that have these hogs, that's their intellectual property, the genetics in that hog. You can't give one of them hogs away to anybody. That's their property, and they are bred to be low fat, and even though they just stand in the pen their whole life, 9 months, they look like Olympic athletes when they walk out of there. Because I help load some of the hogs in the semi truck sometimes, but they're not giving them. And I hear a lot of people say, well, there must be a lot of hormones in the food because girls are maturing a lot earlier than they used to.
That's true.
But the reason they're doing that is most girls don't do any active stuff, so they're not working, and they're getting a lot of fat. And fat is what makes the hormones start. Fat makes hormones start producing. It gives the girls extra progesterone and estrogen, and that makes them mature up quick. It's from being fat and not active.
I've read where girls gain more weight after like 13, 14 to 17. That's a common thing.
Yeah, but I disagree a little bit because I have a stepdaughter and she was in great shape growing up. And my ex-wife and I even talked about it. We're like, I can't believe and Scott, I'm sure the same way at your house. Like, I can't believe she's, 11, 12 years old and this is happening this early. And I'd ask at the time, she wasn't my ex-wife, but I asked her, I was like, is this, and she's like, no, not for me, but then we know, like, even her friends and stuff, everybody's kind of saying the same things. And some of these girls were very active, do competitive cheer and getting thrown up in there and all that stuff. So you're probably right sometimes, but I'm telling you, I think that there's a link of what we're putting in food as well.
There's not a difference. It's not a reason.
Right.
There's a lot of things.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Who's the most obese people in America?
The most obese, I'm going to say
lower
the poor.
income.
Yeah,
lowest income.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the Pima Indians. They lived in the desert environment for the last 15,000 years. So their bodies take in a lot of energy from eating desert food that's real low.
We're talking scorpions?
The Pima Indians. And so anyway, when they start drinking Coca-Colas and eating Twinkies, they go obese and they're diabetic at 10. So it's what your genetics can handle too in some cases.
But, I would agree with that.
Once again. All right, another thing you do is look at the BTUs. I think gasoline has 186,000 BTUs to the gallon.
Mm-hmm.
And Coca-Cola has, I think when you drink a glass of Coca-Cola, that's 10. So, gasoline is off the limits more energy than what Coca-Cola has. But if enough people drink a Coca-Cola, they can push a car pretty fast, too.
Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't have that effect for me anymore. Bull.
We need to drink less gasoline?
Yeah, or maybe more. You know what? Maybe both. Maybe mix Coke and gas.
I started pouring my beer into a glass, and I can drink more.
There used to be cocaine in Coca-Cola, so maybe with that kind of
No.
Yes, sir.
Of course. Hence the name, right? This comes in. Got to get a quick break here before the top of the hour. Says, okay, so this was following up their point about BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America. Said BRICS would kill the U.S. petrodollar, especially if Saudi joined them. If Saudi joined BRICS, the U.S. would invade them, talking about Saudi. We would throw over the Saudi monarchy if they joined BRICS. We didn't really mess with Saudi Arabia to this point. I mean, if we're not going to get upset with them after 9/11, I don't know that we're going to get upset with them.
We like their oil too much.
We like a lot of things about them.
Yeah, and plus they got the good golfers now too. So
that's true.
Y'all don't mess with my golf.
They're hard on American reporters.
That's a fact, and we let that go, no problem. You're listening to Walker Talks. Got a house full today. We'll be right back.
News Talk West Tennessee includes newstalk965.com and Newstalk 96.5 FM, covering local news, sports, and weather on an extensive network of platforms, including radio, social media streaming, digital TV, live stream, podcasts, all on your devices. Our local and live weekday lineup includes Daybreak with Greg Wood and G-Unit, Walker Talks with Chuck Walker and Julie Holt, The Dan Reeves Show with Gina Langley and Larry Newman, Dave Ramsey, Jackson-Madison County Schools Game of the Week, UT Vols Sports, and the Memphis Grizzlies. Local, live, News Talk West Tennessee and newstalk965.com. Hear it first on News Talk 96.5 FM. We might be talking about you.
They say consistency is the key to success. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently refreshing and light? Michelob Ultra, only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Wake up with Wood. Daybreak with Greg Wood. Weekday morning 6 till 10 on 96.5 FM and newstalkwtn.com.
Welcome to Hampton Inn & Suites of Jackson. Make yourself at home in any of the 83 rooms or suites. Hampton Inn & Suites exit 83 at I-40 is minutes away from all Jackson destinations like the West Tennessee Healthcare Sportsplex, Casey Jones Village, Jackson-Madison County General Hospital, and many industrial complexes. Enjoy free Wi-Fi, free parking, and free hot breakfast. Also a 24-hour fitness and business center. Welcome to West Tennessee. Make your reservations now by calling direct at 731-427-6100 or visit hampton.com.
What do you think he'll get you this year? Candy? Flowers?
No, I was thinking something more sparkly.
Wow, congratulations. How many carats do you think he'll spring forward?
Girl, forget the ring. I want some of that shiny 45 Automark bling.
At 45 Automark, get a jewelry box full of $1,000 savings just by walking in and saying,
"Show me the bling."
We've had an 18-year clean Carfax successful marriage to our customers, and to keep the romance alive, we're taking $1,000 off so our relationship thrives. Say,
"Show me the bling,"
and carry this loaded leather sunroof Honda CRV over the threshold for $11,900, or pick up this 60,000-mile 2020 Chevy Colorado for just $21,900. Don't fall for Mr. Mega Dealer with a sappy sales spiel and false love sting when every drive-in your Forever 45 ride will give you the feels like a sweet romance with $1,000 off because you said,
"Show me the bling."
So call 989-8059 or come to 45 Automark today. We're your $1,000 off the perfect for you ride with that love's in bloom at first sight feeling that'll make you swoon and leave you reeling. Dealer!
Award-winning Watson's Cleaning Service specializes in commercial and residential cleaning. Watson's cleans huge commercial buildings, West Tennessee Agriculture and Education Center, the Federal Court Building in downtown Jackson. Watson's also specializes in residential cleaning services, stripping and waxing floors, buffing, pulling trash, sweeping and mopping, vacuuming, household cleaning, baseboards, walls, dishes, dusting and organizing. Call 731-293-3808. Family owned and operated Watson's Cleaning Services. 293-3808.
My name is Steven and I'm 41 years old. I started having problems with my weight, my focus, my energy all around. I spent thousands of dollars a year on supplements trying to get my weight down, and it never worked.
Are these problems affecting your work, your relationships, and your quality of life? You'll be happy to know there is an exciting, natural solution available called BioT. BioT uses a natural way for men and women to correct these problems by safely and accurately balancing hormone levels without the use of synthetic injections or creams.
So I got the treatment, and it has been the best decision of my life. I feel great. I'm losing weight. I have more energy. I'm getting stronger in the gym, and I can focus so much better. And I notice that I also sleep better, and I'm always in a good mood. And I believe it's all because of the BioT treatment.
To schedule an appointment to find out if BioTE is right for you, call 731-462-3596. That's 731-462-3596.
When the game goes into overtime. But the game goes into overtime. The choice to enjoy is easy. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Pick up Bud Light at your local convenience store today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Central Distributors, Jackson.
This is not what I thought it was going to be. This isn't what Hulk Hogan came out to. He came out to "I'm a Real American," right?
When I was a kid,
I mean, what is this mess? This is not
80s
what I was
hair
told.
band, something.
Yeah, this is not what I was told. Oh, this is when maybe he was the bad Hulk Hogan when he was at WCW.
Can't have nothing good.
Yeah, we can't have anything good. Why does the internet lie to us? You're listening to Walker Talks. We got a couple of minutes before the top of the hour news. 731-265-6496. Brandon Shields just sent me a message. Just now leaving Medina, so he'll be here in a few minutes. And it says that was his WCW music. Yeah, I was trying to hear "I'm a Real American." This is not.
It says so right there.
It says American made. Yeah. I'm done with this tomfoolery and or chicanery. Busy show today, which we love. Scott Bump is joining us. Our Catholic consigliere, Tony Niehoff, is in here. Let's get to a couple of messages. Pure Conscious. Oh, my God. Well, I'm gonna read one of these, and then I'm done. I'm done reading this, okay? But you can get your jollies here. When the human beings ascend to become pure consciousness in accordance with the carbon-7 light bodies, DNA upgrades, this is for you, Tony, immortal bliss, etc. Chuck maybe reads this message. SOS. I'm sorry, I can't figure out a way how to sell it for profit. Why would anybody do that with eternal riches?
But that's a lyric from Turtles All the Way Down, Sturgill Simpson.
100%. That's definitely part of that song. This comes in, it says 40% of food is wasted in the USA. 100 billion pounds. 400 billion.
Absolutely. Y'all come and look at my refrigerator.
I'm so guilty. All the stinking time. Guilty.
I used to work at Outback as a busboy, and those trash cans full of food were so heavy. Mm-hmm. We had to dump them, and they were, I bet they were like 70 pounds.
But if they reduced the portions, everybody would lose their mind.
Oh, well, hashtag COVID. You don't remember that? Plate sizes got smaller. Right? It's not the plate. I mean, I was full. But one thing my mama did, God rest her soul, she's a sweet lady some of the time, but she made me clean my plate. We were real poor. It's like, clean your plate. And so I carried that on to later into life. Doesn't matter how much. How big my plate is or small, I'm going to clean it.
Yep.
Well, I said the biggest lie ever told is if you eat all your food, you'll end up big and strong.
Yeah. Half of that's right. One more
here. I said that last week. I don't know.
Yeah, use that line.
One more. I said 3 people can put in a huge corn crop using machines. It takes a village to raise tabletop foods. Manual labor is more expensive than anything, so you got to raise foods.
This is WBFG 96.5 FM. 96.5 FM. Parker's Crossroads, Jackson.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
A senior Russian diplomat has warned that the West's increasing support for Ukraine could lead to an open conflict between nuclear powers.
Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov made the comments at the UN Conference on Disarmament, in which he denounced the US and its allies for openly declaring that Russia must be defeated. Ryabkov said the US and NATO's actions in regards to Ukraine risked a direct military clash of nuclear powers, with what he called catastrophic consequences. He emphasized that Russian President Vladimir Putin's move to suspend the 2010 New START treaty, the last remaining nuclear arms pact with the US, came in response to US and NATO action on Ukraine. I'm Karen Chamas.
Emergency crews scrambling to shuttle food and medicine to residents of California mountain communities stranded by back-to-back winter storms. In San Bernardino County, east of Los Angeles, plowing underway around the clock, but authorities say it could take more than a week to reach some of the areas. Meanwhile, record high temperatures hitting the Gulf Coast into the Ohio Valley. Also at townhall.com, Senator Ted Cruz blasting President Biden's nominee to head up the Federal Aviation Administration. Bob Agnew has more.
In hearings before the Senate Commerce Committee, Senator Cruz said the Biden nominee, Phil Washington, lacks the experience to serve as FAA administrator. He described the White House as treating the position as a patronage job and, quote, playing politics with the flying public safety. Citing the need for what he says should be decades of aviation experience, Senator Cruz says of Washington, this, quite simply, is a position he is not qualified for. Bob Agnew, Capitol Hill.
And on Wall Street, the Dow is up 101 points, but the Nasdaq is down 53. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You have an IRA or 401k, please listen closely. My name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. Throughout my career, let's just say I've been in some hairy situations. And I believe right now the biggest threat facing Americans is they need to protect their wealth, which is exactly what I'm doing for my wife and 6 kids. And I believe the ultimate safe haven is physical gold and silver. You can protect your hard-earned retirement assets with a tax-free loophole that allows you to convert your retirement into physical gold and silver. The folks I use are Advantage Gold, and believe me, I've investigated the heck out of all types of people. Advantage Gold is the nation's highest rated gold company. They have the
Hi, I'm Terica Smith, a local attorney and proud JMCSS graduate, but I'm also a JMCSS parent. We chose Jackson-Madison County Schools for educational options that are innovative and challenging. Whether it's the Academic Academy at Northeast or early college and career opportunities at JCM Early College High, JMCSS offers classes and programs that will prepare my son for college and beyond. Plus, JMCSS is a Level 5 district and tuition free. It just makes sense.
Hi, I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System. With an increased focus in the fine arts, athletics, workforce development, and early career opportunities for students, there's never been a better time to choose us. Tuition-free, Jackson-Madison County Schools. Visit jmcss.org today to schedule a tour or call 731-345-7011.
Watch Tennessee Championship Wrestling every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on NewsTalkWestTennessee.com. See all the Memphis legends, Jerry the King Lawler, Dangerous Doug Gilbert, Superstar Bill Dundee, along with stars of today, the Mid-South Prodigy Bam Bam Bundy, MJ Davis, Mr. Marvelous Mike Mayo, Insane Dane, Big Gravy, The Rocket Josh Benson, Lucky P. Larson, and many, many more. You can also view TCW on the News Talk West Tennessee app for all your Apple and Android devices.
Catch Tennessee Championship Wrestling every Saturday at noon on NewsTalkWTN.com.
Looking to Apple.
Welcome back in to Walker Talks. It's starting to cloud up outside a little bit. It's 12:04. What is today? Thursday? Yeah, that's right. Thursday, March 2nd. Starting to cloud up outside. We're expecting quite a bit of rain coming up, which is terrible news for the roundabout. Terrible news for the roundabout. Storms tonight, moving in around 9 o'clock. Some could be very severe. Expect high winds, gust up to 50 to 70 miles an hour.
Man.
What think about that? That's wind gust. That's not like tornadic. That's 70 mile an hour wind gust. So if you have a trampoline for your child, you may want to put some kite string around it and tie it to your hose bib. Don't you love it when old people call those things hose bibs? Like
hose bib.
Yeah, where you put your, plug your water hose in.
Yeah.
Clothes bib.
Yeah, I'm telling you, my favorite people on earth are old. Yeah, and you included, Scott. I love it.
I knew that's why you called me.
731-265-6496. Our Jackson IV and Wellness Clinic call-in number. 731-265-6496. Our Advanced Rehab text line. 731-800-8398. We are joined by Melinda Reed.
Hello.
From Lifeline Blood Services. Good morning, Melinda. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good for kind of a dreary Thursday, but I'm happy to be here.
It's going to be a wonderful weekend, at least, right?
Saturday's yeah, it is looking really good. Saturday and Sunday is where it's at. 63 on Saturday and 69 for Sunday. So, hey, we'll get past these rainy days and have an awesome weekend.
If every day is a sunny day, what's a sunny day?
Oh,
yeah, remember that? Somebody said that one time. It's a movie or something.
Really?
I didn't make that up myself. There's no way. Did you just hear how profound that sounded? No way I did that.
We'll have to Google it to see where that came from.
Melinda, what are you here today to talk about? Because I know that we do have some needs out there. Some of these needs are getting to a critical need.
That's right. Well, I wanted to remind everyone that you can actually donate blood every 8 weeks. Every 8 weeks you are eligible to give if you're feeling well and healthy. We do have a critical need at Lifeline Blood Services. It is O positive, O negative, and A negative. So if that is your blood type, don't hesitate. Don't think about it. Patients in West Tennessee are counting on us. Come on in today to donate. We'll be looking for you. We're open until 6 p.m. today.
What if people don't know what blood type they are? Like, Scott, do you know your blood type?
I think I'm a B positive. I'd have to actually
look at him in the eyes, Melinda. Does he look like he's a B positive?
He looks like a positive kind of guy.
They've got the record over there.
We have the record. So. That's right. That's how you find out. You donate blood for the first time. You'll be in our system. It is locked in there. And that way we can tell you right after your initial donation, you're in our you've got a profile. You're in our system, and we can tell you what blood type, and you can find out what you're compatible with if you ever need ever need a transfusion. And but yeah, O positive is our most common blood type. O negative is our universal donor. So we are always just screaming from the mountaintops that those are the two blood types that we are always in dire need of. But in addition to those two, we are looking for A negative right now. So come see us. A negative as well.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That is the thing.
Is that rare? Like, what's the most rare? What type is that? There's one of them. It's not O negative, right?
It's B negative.
Is it B negative? Yeah, one of them's like the most rare type. And is O negative that matches with everything? Tony, you should know this. You get blood every 6 weeks.
Mine smells like whiskey.
I don't know, but I just found a dollar that they give you a little pretend money every time you go too. So.
Yes, Tony is a committed donor, and he has one of our Lifeline bucks. You receive if you are an apheresis donor, which is plasma or platelets, and Tony is one of our apheresis donors. You receive kind of like a swag buck that you can redeem for something in our gift closet. So, Tony, hold on to that Monopoly money because it's worth something.
I've always wondered how much money you need to actually get something because I've never actually done anything with it. So.
We're accepting double Lifeline bucks at Bumpus Harley-Davidson.
Oh, they're like discount days where you get like more for your buck.
That would be an awesome partnership. We'll have to talk to you about that.
You can apply that towards a 2023 Road Glide. So it's $2. So don't even look. You would just tell them, say, I'm not going to pay sticker. Here's $2.
Creative marketing.
Say, what's this going to get me?
You know, I have some old Disney dollars that are worth way more than they were at the time we bought them because they're collector's items now.
Cool. Well,
you can still spend them at the Disney parks, but you'd be silly because one's worth like $25.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm flattered that you held on to that, Tony. So keep coming on in to donate. If you'd like to know more about donating plasma or platelets, like our co-host Tony does, give us a call at 427-4431. But if you would like to donate today, we are in critical need of O positive, O negative, and A negative. And you can find out where our Bloodmobile is by checking out our website, lifelinebloodserve.org. And our mobile blood drive calendar is locked on in there. You can check out and see where we're going to be. And you can donate in that Bloodmobile. It takes about 40 minutes. So come on out and help us save lives for patients here in West Tennessee.
Melinda, I'm reading here. I'm looking through some of this. I didn't know this. I guess this makes sense, honestly. We're coming right to these phone calls. But how often would you think in the United States Tony or Scott, either one. So, Tony, you have your material out, so you can't answer this question. You've been disqualified. Scott, it's only for you. How often would you think in the U.S., on average, someone needs blood? A transfusion.
A transfusion?
Yeah.
As in, like,
a blood transfusion.
Like how many times per day does an American need a transfusion?
Yeah, every 2 seconds is the answer. That's going to be tough to get to.
I was trying to dig down to what your question was, because I don't like to answer anything false, because everybody says you can't trust nothing you hear
Can't trust nothing you hear on the radio.
But that sounds right.
Every 2 seconds, guys. Yeah.
That is insane. That is absolutely insane. But, you know.
It's incredible.
And you said that last time you were in here, Melinda, and I thought this is interesting too. The majority of the blood that is donated here is used here. But if there is something bad happens, unfortunately, we're, anticipating some bad weather tonight. I think Memphis is supposed to get more of it, maybe a little bit south of here than us. But hopefully everything happens. But if there is a case like that where there's a critical need, you guys can send the blood off to help with that need as well, too.
That's right. If we do have the supply that can help other blood centers meet their needs, then by all accounts, we will join their mission and help out with tragedies. And we have a network that we're in, and we take rotations. And so when it's our turn to be on rotation, we're highly sensitive to making sure our stock is ready to meet those needs of a nationwide catastrophe or something along those lines. So we've always got to be prepared. It's something to wrap your arms around. It's the shelf, the blood that's on the shelf that saves lives. So you have to be prepared. You have to have it on the ready for everyday needs and for major catastrophes as well. So the shelf life is 42 days. So that's why you guys see and hear from me often. And that's why I'm always talking about what our critical needs are, because every 42 days, that's the cycle of the shelf life of our blood supply.
Melinda Reed joining us here on Walker Talks. All right, Melinda, one more thing. I know we've got a big donation coming up. The Blood Mobile is going to be out. Where is that going to be?
Right. We are always out and about. We actually have our blood drive calendar on lifelinebloodserve.org, but our Blood Mobile is out and about today. We are, today is Thursday. We are in Paris today at First United Methodist Church. Tomorrow we'll be in Bolivar at Simmons Bank, McKenzie at Save-A-Lot, and in Milan tomorrow as well at Lowe's. And coming up on Thursday the 16th, you can come out to Lifeline in North Jackson from 9 to 6. It's our St. Patrick's Day blood drive. All donors receive a themed drive t-shirt and a free lunch special food voucher to use at Mulligan's March the 20th through the 31st for lunch and a drink at Mulligan's. So we're excited to partner with them for our St. Patrick's Day blood drive, and we hope that we'll have a big turnout of lots of donors.
It's a great promotion. Everybody likes Mulligan's.
Mulligan's.
Heck yeah. What is today? Today is Thursday. I know tomorrow's catfish. Monday is hamburger. Tuesday is corned beef. What is Thursday at Mulligan's? There's only one way to find out, and I'm about to find that out right now.
That's pretty impressive.
Well, thank you. I've got the internet. I don't like to brag.
Yeah.
I could name off Picasso's lunches, but not Mulligan's.
Yeah. Well.
So every day there's something that will not disappoint you. So thank you so much to Mary at Mulligan's for partnering with us every year to help us save lives, and our donors will get a really great treat for donating on the 16th. You can use that food voucher from the 20th to the 31st for a dine-in lunch with Mulligan's.
There you go. Absolutely. Go Friday or Monday. You're going to be really, really happy. Those are my two favorite days.
Friday and Monday.
Burgers, and then I love the catfish. And actually, you'll be happy to know I get it blackened now. It's even better. Blackened catfish is even better than fried catfish.
To it.
It's better for you, too.
Wow. It's got to be better for you. All right. We'll say good afternoon and welcome into Walker Talks.
Well, good afternoon.
What's going on, Wild Man?
So, you were talking about nutrition and food selection.
We were.
Have you ever picked up the book, any of you? By the way, y'all look great on my tube.
Well, wonderful. Thank you.
We're waiting to you right now.
Yeah, y'all have finally come up to stardom now. Just look, you got your streaming working, and you're on the tube. So
on the tube.
Eventually, now I'm gonna have to clear up all these warrants I have.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting back to food, first of all of you need to pick up the book, Sugar, Salt, Fat. national bestseller for the last 20 years. And it will give you a true panorama of the food processors of America and how they have injected every chemical of addiction known to man in your cans and boxes that you like to shop in the middle of the grocery store.
Don't be taking Tony's words.
Tony is absolutely correct. Actually, see, Chuck, when you go into the center, the produce aisle is a good deal. And see, you got Gabe Hart there, the educator of West Tennessee, but the kids don't have any idea of choosing their food while it is in season. If it's in season, the price of the food is at the lowest cost to the consumer. And it's also the most nutritious. So we're not supposed to be eating the same stuff all the time. See, the good Lord gave us 1,000 choices of fresh produce that doesn't all grow at the same season.
Well, what season are Fritos? Because that's one of my favorites.
No, see, what you've done is you've taken corn and you've putrefied that corn into Fritos.
Right.
But see, guess what, Chuck?
Put it in a scoop, and you're good to go.
Put in all that, when they put in all the preservatives in them Fritos and then them tater chips that y'all love to munch on, see, you don't take the time to turn the bag around and actually read what's in that garbage.
You don't want to know what's in there.
No, you don't. I'm going to tell you this.
Oh, yeah.
You don't. When you go to a Super Bowl party and you are taking a Frito scoop and dipping it into a vat of cheese heated up in a crock pot made from Velveeta, sausage, Rotel.
Bad decision.
I mean, yeah, you're not, it's
But
every
it
now and
sounds
again.
so good.
Oh, man.
Yeah, every now and again. You do things that aren't bad for you to make you feel alive. Now, that is a quote of mine. You can use that.
No, that's not true.
Well,
See,
you did.
Velveeta,
I promise you, I just said it. And I know it's my quote. I just said it. Go ahead.
Velveeta is not cheese, Chuck.
That's why it's not in the cheese aisle.
No, that's why, yeah.
It says, it's not cheese. It's called cheese food.
Yeah, cheese food. It's cheesy.
Yes.
See,
cheese adjacent.
Tony's mentioned, Tony caught on to goldfish.
Tony caught a
any
goldfish.
cracker. Let me just
Whoa! You call him Commissioner Niehoff. I will not have
a cracker.
Yeah, I will not have any of that.
I'm not calling him commissioner anything until he reveals the lawsuits that are pending against the Madison County Clown Commission.
Ooh, it could be breaking news.
Here we go.
Do we have breaking news on the show, Tony?
There's always litigation, and some of it's minor and some of it could be major. So honestly, I couldn't tell you all the cases, but I do know that it happens more than people think.
Good Lord. We're getting sued? And I say we because I pay taxes here.
Actually, we're on the good side of a lawsuut where we're going to get money back from
That's what I'm talking
opioid thing. So that's one we're involved in, but we're getting money for that.
That's good news.
But cut through the chase.
All
what
right.
you really need to be expressing is, see, these kids are being, they're not being educated. They're being indoctrinated on all kinds of stupid woke stuff. Well, what they really need to do is return education to life skills.
To life skills, okay.
So, yeah, like choosing your food, knowing that what is real food and what is fake food. And the reason that, Chuck, you can go into a pizza fast food joint and sit down and eat the whole darn pizza by yourself is because
you see me in action.
They have injected, a chemical base into that pizza that shuts off the switch. You have a switch in your brain. And so ultimately,
like it's
they
shutting off
chemically shut that sucker off, and you will eat the whole darn thing at one sitting.
I'm not a proud man, but I have eaten an entire
Don't
pizza.
eat pizza that's got needle tracks in it.
That makes
Well,
sense.
bottom line is, see, you want to laugh and chuckle about all this other nonsense, but realistically, anything that is, white beans around here is the number one cause of diabetes. You know why? Because when you eat white beans, your blood sugar goes to the top of your head.
Do you think children are eating? Well, I've never met anyone under 70 years old that ate a white bean.
Oh man, no, that's not true.
You think kids eat white beans?
Oh yeah,
we serve them in our fish fries.
Yeah, but do young people eat these white beans? Because I'm going to call shenanigans.
I can just say, when I served them, the kids skip the white beans most often.
Yeah, of course they do.
That's gourmet eating in Mercer.
Young kids aren't eating white beans.
What are they eating? They're eating junk because their mamas and daddies are too lazy to cook.
Yeah.
Rick, let me tell you, I have asked the health department to post promoting healthy eating and healthy choices to prevent health problems. I have actually.
Well, they're not doing a very good job, but they do. I tell you what, they do. They do a great job at taking elderly people and throwing them down there in the dead of winter at the fairgrounds to get them a COVID shot. Now they do. I mean, I think Tedford's office needs to be down there at the Madison County Fairgrounds.
Okay.
Not in her office. Yeah, that's the way y'all operate around here.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get back to the food deal.
Okay, we didn't mean to get you off track. Our bad.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. You know, white bread that all of us grew up on.
That was my nickname on the basketball court.
No, Wonder Bread. Well, the only thing in Wonder Bread is nothing but bleached flour. That means that all the nutrition out of
people know white bread's bad. I mean, we know this, right? This isn't doing it. And it's funny that we're having the food discussion today because yesterday and the day before we were having the food discussion, you didn't want to hear anything about it. You didn't want to protect the kids then, but you want to protect them now with white bread.
Oh, no. So you are always trying to deflect your new anti-drag queen deal into fast food selection.
No. I was just saying that if we're going to protect children, let's protect them at every level. And it sounds like you agree with me that what kids eat, it could be even more harmful than a man dressed like a woman.
I have a question for Melinda.
So it sounds like we're on the same page with this.
No.
Idea. We're not. We're not. We don't think that the crap that we serve our kids, and I'll be honest with you, if we're serving our kids white beans, then dear Lord, pass the legislation today.
You got to learn how to season a white bean, Chuck.
Oh my Lord,
man!
I had a joke, but I'm gonna try to stay on air. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, essentially anything white other than cauliflower in the vegetable world is not your friend. Okay,
yeah.
It's just that simple. I didn't decide that.
Parsnips are pretty good for you.
Oh God, no one's eating. I mean, no wonder these kids are going to the drag shows.
Garlic.
You're feeding them white beans and parsnips.
Garlic.
Garlic.
Hey,
Dear
one
Lord,
of my kids likes parsnips.
No wonder. I wondered. I was like, this can't even be a real problem. This ain't even really happening, but evidently it is.
Hey, I have a question, Melinda. Can kids under 18 give blood, or is that against the rules?
You can actually start at 17 years old.
Okay. I never knew that.
Yeah, 17 and up. In fact, we have a Red Cord Honor Society. It's the Red Cord.
Hold on one second, Rick. Go ahead.
Sorry, Rick. Oh, so high school students, high school seniors can earn a Red Cord to wear with their cap and gown at graduation for their blood donations.
That's cool.
So we
Never
do
knew that.
encourage seniors to donate. Must be minimum of 17 years of age, 110 pounds. You can donate on site at your school's blood drive or at Lifeline at 183 Sterling Farms. Great question, Tony.
Melinda, this comes in. I'm not sure who the texter is. Could be Rick. It says, can you be too old to give blood?
There is no upper age limit. You just you should be feeling well and healthy, and you cannot donate if you are on blood thinners currently. So there are some health concerns that may be a part of a more elderly donor, Rick, and that we'll just look at closely and see if you meet those requirements. But no, there is no cutoff age.
Would you take Scott Bumpus' blood, Melinda? I don't want to put you on the spot in here.
Careful before you say so.
This comes in. It says, Rick, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, etc. Direct result of unbridled capitalism. When money rules, this is what you get. This comes in. Hey, Big Rick, I want to ask you if you know the difference between a legal commercial code and a lawful ordinance and reality.
That you folks are lawless. That's what that boils down to.
Yeah.
See, there's a big sign in all your city parks saying no alcoholic beverages allowed. But your little group wanted to sell beer for your gay, whatever it was, in the city park.
I think that was the technical name. Were you on the sign committee that printed all the signs that said gay, whatever it was?
So, virtually, I want to know about the blood. When I give blood.
Oh, Melinda, I want to make sure if I ever need a transfusion, I get a separate bag. Y'all need to put his in a certain part of the room.
Yeah, absolutely, because Scuckle's got all kinds of, I don't know what he drops down his gullet before he shows, but he's hilarious.
You'd like to.
But anyway, getting back to the blood cost, how much do you sell my blood for? What's the price of my blood when I give it to you?
You know,
how much
that
money?
I bet that's an insurance company. I bet different insurance companies probably pay different rates.
You know, that is an area that falls outside of my expertise.
Makes sense.
So unfortunately, I'm not able to answer your question, but I would say it would be priceless.
That is true. The gift of giving blood is priceless.
Actually, see, there are other people that give their blood at other locations.
Yeah, I bet you know what I bet you do, and I know what you're trying to do here. You're trying to start like a black market of blood. You know, kind of like when we were reading this morning when the Pentagon denies that there's $1 billion of weapons on the black market that we sent over in Ukraine.
Be a red market.
Now I like it. You know what, Rick? We got to talk after the show. Rick, I'll let you hold because Brandon Shields is coming in. I'm going to let you ask him one question. Melinda, we got to get to a break. Thank you so much for coming in.
Hey, I enjoyed it, always.
It gets a little wild in here.
I'm up for it.
Tony's Catholic. They can't act right. What's up with Catholics? You're my consigliere, Tony. Calm down. Calm down.
Rangers are red, Mustangs are blue, and Gene Langley Ford is ready to help you. Find the car, truck, or SUV you'll fall in love with. Hi, this is Sarah Beth Langley at Gene Langley Ford. We've all heard and seen dating sites, but how about one that matches you to the car, truck, or SUV of your dreams? All this month, visit ValentineCar.com. Enter the make and model you desire, the age and price range, and Gene Langley Ford's Cupid will show you their profiles. And a sweetheart of a deal. And this is one time that test drives aren't just allowed, they're actually encouraged. And rest assured, this is no one-time date either. We have a lifetime warranty, guaranteed financing, and the best service department. So visit ValentineCar.com today. Enter the make, model, age, and price range you're looking for, and you'll have plenty of beauties to choose from. Make this the month you find the car, truck, or SUV of your dreams. You really should try Gene Langley Ford before you buy. The dealership service bill.
See dealer for warranty and financing details.
Hi, my name's Dawn. I have been taking BioT at Advanced Medical. My moods are better. I sleep well. My husband has complimented me on the mood swings that are no longer affecting our marriage.
Are these problems affecting your work, your relationships, and your quality of life? You'll be happy to know there's an exciting, natural solution available called BioT. BioT uses a natural way for men and women to correct these problems by safely and accurately balancing hormone levels without the use of synthetic injections or cream.
I got blood work done, and they identified what hormones were out of balance. They gave me the bioidentical hormone pellets through BioT, and now I have more energy, no more brain fog, I'm sleeping better, and I feel like my old self again. I would recommend Advanced Rehab and Medical and their BioT program to anyone suffering with symptoms like mine. It's been life-changing.
To book your appointment, call 731-462-8580. That's 731-462-8580.
Vintage doesn't always mean long-lasting. As your home systems age, your repair costs, utility bills, and breakdowns rise. During Hiller's Vintage Showdown, we're giving away a free new system to the owner of the oldest HVAC unit. Submit a picture of your old equipment online to see if you qualify as the winner. Everybody wins with trade-in credits plus 0% financing for up to 48 months with approved credit on select new HVAC systems. Enter to win now at happyhiller.com.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Welcome back into Walker Talks here on 96.5 FM, Parker's Crossroads, Jackson, NewsTalk965.com. That's a new website for you. We sold our other website on the black market. We had Rick negotiate the deal. for all our, black market dealings. But the news site is News Talk 96.5. You can download our apps, News Talk West Tennessee. You can listen to us on TuneIn. You can watch us live on the aforementioned News Talk 965.com. You can give us a phone call. We're coming back to Big Rick here because Brandon Shields should be on his way. He likes to tease the program. He gets here with about 10 minutes left and gives us some really good information to dig into. Then he's gone. 731-265-6496 is our Jackson IV and Wellness Clinic call-in number. Our advanced rehab text number is 731-800-8398. Now, Rick, something I did want to ask you today when we heard from you is if you saw Commissioner Abernathy, Olivia Abernathy, her Facebook post where the roundabout was flooded to what I thought was an alarming level last night.
Well, that's because the drainage pipe that y'all paid for, because you didn't have any money in City Hall to put in a tile pipe, Chuck.
Right.
So now it's been, you have to go back and call your little mayor friend, Scotty Congor, and find out when's the last time they did maintenance on cleaning out that tile.
Is that the problem? Is that what it is?
Of course it is. It always is.
So it's not.
It's kind of like when I moved out to the Northeast, and your cronies went and built that baseball stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what they forgot to do was properly grade the drainage from that, because they disrupted the natural flow of dispersing of water.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to take me on that deal, because what ended up happening is that combined with the trash dumping that was allowed to handle every washer dryer behind the old Jackson Tennis Club.
Mm-hmm.
It also, which is a dividing line of Dyer Creek by the Hidden Valley Golf Course.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, what ended up happening is that area that I was wanting Julie to be on today, because, Chuck, I checked into these little houses on Cooper Anderson Road that y'all were bragging about.
I don't even know where you're talking about. I know where Cooper Anderson Road is, and there is some new construction out there. That's always.
I know where he's talking about.
Okay.
Well, why do you allow these houses to be built in a floodplain by Dyer Creek?
A lot of times what they'll do is they'll build up the dirt to get out of the floodplain, and then they have an expert come by and pass that idea.
Now, unfortunately, I've lived in a neighborhood before, and sometimes this happens in neighborhood because things get redirected where water becomes an issue.
Called an elevation
houses.
Certificate is what they call it.
I see this all
I had
the time.
it in Medina, but it
that's
was
the exact house I was thinking about.
It was groundwater.
Right. Yeah. So there's all kinds of things that can be issues.
I know, but this is floodplain, and ultimately it's been done in the Jackson community forever and a day. So, we have a Tennessee River Basin Authority office over in Humboldt, Tennessee, that all the mayors, both city and county, go to supposedly over there. But anyway, forever and a day, there was no action requested or delivered for Dyer Creek. So it had every washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, stove that your bumpkins decided would be a good place for them to dump it in Dyer Creek behind the old Jackson Tennis Club.
So you're saying that there's a potential for flooding, right? Just help move you along here, because we got some text and we got Brandon Shields in with us. Say hello to Brandon.
So you don't have any drainage in Jackson, Tennessee. You have gullies that you've hidden by tree growth.
We're about to get a new roundabout.
Yeah. The roundabout was built.
Now we're about to get a new one.
Well, no, you had federal money.
Okay, I don't want to talk about the old roundabout. Other than it flooding out. Brandon, how are you doing?
We knew that was federal money.
I'm good. How about y'all?
Doing well. We've talked about you a lot in your absence. Scott's really been making a lot of fun of you.
What did Scott say?
Well, that's why you need to listen.
No, I should have stuck up for you, because you called from Medina like 15 minutes ago, and Chuck's like, "Well, he's not here yet. He's not here yet." I said he was in Medina.
I could have made it. I could have made it in that time.
You're not advocating him exceed the speed limit.
All right, so
I have a helicopter.
I got no problem explaining that. Which, by the way, I got to be gone in like 11 minutes.
Same,
but
You know what? Y'all just leave in 11 minutes. I decide when y'all leave. Y'all leave in 11 minutes.
I had to drive in from Medina. Hadn't had breakfast yet, so I rolled through a drive-through just now. Gobbled that down while waiting to switch vehicles with my wife as we're juggling kids. So excuse me if I'm not working by your schedule, Chuck.
Rick, do you have your excuse this one time? But that's it. Rick, do you have any questions for Brandon?
Oh my gosh, is he still on?
Oh, absolutely. I have lots of questions for Shields.
This is what happens when you're late, Brandon.
Can we keep it to two?
We really need an update on the wasted stupidity of $2.5 million for another silly roundabout at the intersection of Ashport and Old Humboldt Road.
Okay, let's talk about that one first. Go ahead, Brandon.
So the only update right now is the fact that it's being proposed, and essentially, and there was a little bit of discussion. Were you in for this meeting yesterday, Tony? Which meeting were you
I
in?
was just at the Capitol because I'm not
you were
on
in Capitol. Okay,
yeah,
well,
I'm not on the other. I was on the show instead.
Okay.
That's how you have priorities, Brandon.
But I'm not on that committee in my defense, so I'm on 13 committees.
That's very few compared
He's
to
a realtor, too.
whatever. Quit acting like you're doing something over there.
No, I'm just saying that I wasn't supposed to be there.
He's a realtor, Brandon. He's busy. Go ahead.
So you don't care about your constituents enough to be as informed as you can be?
I was informed when I got there, but let's get to the question.
He was informed in here, is what he meant to say. Go ahead, Brandon.
It's budget committee. It's not.
I learned more from what you said than what they said, Brandon. Truthfully,
but in all seriousness, there was some discussion about that yesterday. We are essentially, the situation is the Board of Zoning Appeals said you need to do all this work on the roads, which we went over last week, I think, when I was in here, right?
Stay right on that microphone. I hate that microphone with the devil's hell. You're perfect now.
So just don't move if I'm like this.
Yep. You just got to be right there.
All right. So they discussed all of the moves, which probably is going to be about $3 million total with widening Old Humboldt and Ashport and all this other stuff. Apparently, the roundabout is the cheaper option than installing a traffic signal at that intersection.
Does that surprise y'all?
Well, I asked about the traffic study. Did you see the traffic study? Because that was not a conclusion at the Capitol meeting.
What wasn't a conclusion?
The cheaper option. Where did you hear that?
That's just what they said last week when the city came and spoke to the school board.
Oh, I'd like to see the numbers that they said. Doesn't satisfy me, but
I doubt the pricing was. I think they're basing it on 1.2 was paid for the roundabout down the street here. I guess that's cheaper than a stoplight. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not just running the stoplight, running the power forward. I'm sure there's other things that you got to do to the road.
Well, you reported there's they want to connect some other roads to Old Humboldt where the Girl Scout office is and some other things.
Well, just widening the turn lane at the bypass all the way back to that road.
Right. So it's just not just a roundabout. There's a lot of things involved that
widening Old Humboldt
would like to be done. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
The Board of Zoning Appeals says you cannot move the kids over to this school until all of that is done. Or if you're going to, that it needs to be done. According to Mayor Conger, they're willing to work with them on getting the kids moved on time and kind of spacing out these projects, which I'm wondering how that's going to throw off the traffic patterns.
And you can find this information. We read you the article yesterday. It's on JacksonPost.news. Brandon Shields of the Jackson Post, bringing you all of Jackson's news. We refer to it at least once a day. Right now, the plans are for the school to open in 2025, but people are starting to see that may not, with these new bumps in the proverbial road, that may not happen, is what people are afraid of.
To put it simply, $500,000 was budgeted for road improvements, and now it's going to be $2 to $3 million, upwards of possibly $3 million. And who's going to pay for it? It's a city road. The county paid for the school, and then, so.
What, did the city want the school to move there? I mean, it feels like you just I live in the city. It feels like you're trying to dump that off on me.
I'm just saying that the money's going to have to come from somewhere, and that's probably going to be the discussion going forward is how we're going to pay for it.
And during the budget meeting yesterday, two budget committee members, Gary Deaton and Mike Taylor, both said the budget is $48 for the school. That's what we're keeping it at. Now, the $500,000 that was budgeted last year was for widening Ashport Road. Apparently, $500,000 is enough to put a turn lane there on Ashport.
to widen the road out.
Right.
Could there be modifications to the school? Maybe less room. I mean, I know you don't want to build a new school and outgrow it immediately, but could there be? Has anybody talked about that and cost savings modifications now that these new hurdles have come up? And I know we're early. Like let's say that the teacher's lounge was going to be really nice. Maybe they don't have a teacher's lounge in this. What would that say? 15,000? You know what I mean? Just going line through line with the with the because when you build something, Scott, you know this. You just built a house. I built a house before. It's really easy. And I would imagine on a school property like this, it's easy to get over budget. So sometimes you've got to bring things back a little bit. Is there any construction changes they could make to come up with this much money, or is just the number too big?
I mean, I can just speak. Our church, St. Mary's, if you notice, we've built some buildings over the last few years. Changing now would set us back a while because the architects have to go back and redraw it. And then, I mean, I just don't think that's a viable option.
Also, I do wonder how much, like if you're saying cut off a room here, a lounge here or a lab there or something like that, unless you're making significant cuts like that.
Yeah,
would that really?
You're going to have a hard time coming up with that many millions of dollars.
It's going to bring it down from $41.6 million to 41.55555.
Hey, I have a quick question for Brandon. What happened at the game last night? We had a leaky roof, then we moved, and I saw allegations from that happened. Something was said to the Southside coach.
There was and I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, I mean there were some fans from Medina who were not happy with the officiating, and they are jealous of the fact that Southside has beaten South Gibson now 4 times.
Yeah.
And
South Gibson may be the second best girls basketball team in the state of Tennessee. It's just unfortunate they keep running into Southside, who is probably the very best girls basketball team in the state of Tennessee.
Kind of like when Connecticut was dominant and, Connecticut was just ridiculously good in women's basketball.
And, but there was one time where Coach McNeil actually snapped back at a Medina fan. And all he said was, I didn't hear what the fan said, but I heard McNeil look up in the fans and say, I don't have to. And he pointed up at the scoreboard. So
that's always a game winner. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I would use the scoreboard thing.
And they had the clock
day.
They had the clock running at that time.
I like his style.
Oh, wow. Well, sometimes you ask for the bull, you get the horns,
Yeah.
And Southside played a great game. I put that story up this morning. They had the break. They had to go to Freed Hardman. There was 4 minutes and 31 seconds left in the second quarter. When they had to make the break, Southside was up 30-19. 4.5 minutes later at halftime, Southside's up 49-22. So they outscored them 19-3 before halftime.
Wow, in 4 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. So that's just a good defensive team there.
Good defensive team. Rick, you said you have one more question, or I think Tony technically limited you to 2. What's your other question?
Well,
he's still here?
Essentially, essentially, Tony, as I've been conversating with you, this is your typical 30 acres of ground that nobody asked Monkey Shine Deaton to buy, and we end up with 10 of the 30 acres as a gully. So no land was perked. That land wasn't ever checked to verify what kind of ground that you boys bought. And the same fiasco.
Niehoff wasn't even on the commission at the time, bro.
Yep, that's true.
Well, that's okay. It doesn't make any difference. He needs
just,
to know.
Just for accuracy, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'm asking a question. Okay, you need to answer.
You've been talking for like 2.5.
It's a Rick question.
You need to
it takes a
report
while.
the news. Yeah, work on focusing on reporting the news.
Okay,
I'll do my best. No promises.
Okay, so getting back to the malfeasance of the county clown collection, of always going out spending money on backroom deals.
Right.
You got the city mandating $2.5 million of a miniature roundabout, so baby Congoer can feel like he's up with the Joneses in Franklin.
But listen to me, this is starting to feel like foreplay. Can you get to the question?
Oh, absolutely. When Tony, are you going to step forward and bring common sense and reality to the non-accountability of your capital committee? Because they're always dreaming this nonsense up. You know, you got the same old boy that's going to manage your malfeasance of the little schoolhouse in a flood zone. You know, all this crap was dreamed up because of two old codgers wanting to build little homes, Section 8 homes out there in the floodplain.
What?
You know, get real. We're not all stupid. We're not. So,
Rick, you know, sometimes
at least one of 5 people on this call sounds like his.
I mean,
Don't be rude. Don't be rude.
I mean, Rick, you know, I appreciate your interest in everything that's going on, but sometimes what comes out of your mouth.
Do you appreciate it? Do you appreciate it, Tony?
I mean, Section 8 homes. I mean, like I don't know, man.
They're
I'm not sure
building.
to say.
No one's trying to build Section 8
Jerry
homes out
Winberry's
there.
building Section 8 now.
No, not even close.
Yep.
He builds beautiful homes. They're not Section 8 homes, Rick.
Do we know the definition?
That's what Chuck said about Cooper Anderson. But see,
They're not Section 8 homes out there either.
They're wanting. Well, that's a floodplain, dummy. And they're wanting 300.
Well, moron, you're the one who's bringing up Section 8.
Chuck's the one on the call.
Yeah.
It was Chuck.
So your logic is Section 8 homes are all in floodplains? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Check it out.
Okay, yeah.
Look, guys. All it takes is for you to go down there to your planning office, and you know, this is another thing, Tony, you can look at and see how, you know, stupid it is. You got the town of Jackson in Brother Plant or Pilot or whatever his name is.
Pilot.
He works for the city and the county at the same time. Now, if that's not stupid, I don't know what is.
My man out there just trying to make a living. Why are you trying to hold somebody down for making a living?
Technically, Marlon King does too. So
yeah, I mean, why are you trying to hold somebody down? Making a living. If you're gonna make a living, you got to make a living.
That's what a pimp does.
Go ahead, Rick.
Stop building houses in floodplains. That's what you need to do.
All right. All right. Good advice. Goodbye. Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to keep you so long, Rick. I apologize. Oh, Lord, I love it when I have you guys in here. Y'all tickle me. That was.
I try to take what he says seriously, but then he tells out Section 8 is all in floodplain.
He started that last year, and I knew the builders out there. Well, Cooper Anderson, Rick, these guys don't build Section 8 homes. You understand they actually make money selling these homes, but you know, to get on a man for working 2 jobs,
that's what a pimp does.
I can't handle it. I can't do it.
Is it even 2 jobs? I thought it was just part of his job description to do both.
I don't even know who y'all are talking about.
Sam Pilot for the Planning Commission.
I mean, he oversees the county and the city, but just because the county doesn't want to hire anybody, because we can just use that guy.
I'm like Rick. If you're
the same code, so
if you're cutting Rick off, I'm out of here. So.
I mean, you don't give the man any time to talk. This comes in Advanced Rehab text line 731-800-8398. It says a cup of white beans has 0.6 grams of sugar, not causing diabetes. This comes in. It says Rick is talking about something he knows nothing about again. This comes in, and first of all, if y'all are feeding your kids white beans, I mean,
what's so bad about white beans?
Listen to me. You want to know how the government gets involved? Why we have to have representation at the state level to control these kids? It's because you're feeding them white beans. Nobody wants to eat that mess.
What?
Discussion. What's more dangerous, a drag show or white beans?
Definitely the white beans. Definitely white beans are more dangerous. That's disgusting. Just disgusting. This comes in, coming right to these phone calls. It says, have you heard about the new tobacco plants that have been genetically modified to produce cocaine? Finally, something Rick can be positive about. Are we doing that? Tobacco plants producing cocaine? Good Lord.
If there are tobacco plants in Madison County producing cocaine, I want to write that story.
Oh, Lord, yeah, you do.
That sounds about as crazy as the water in the surface merchandise building and their boat. What did he say? There were boats in there?
Well, he said one time,
ducks
coming to this phone call. Yeah, he said there was ducks in
Yeah.
service merchandise building, and Julie actually got a key to go inside. She looked at it, she's like, yeah, no sign of ducks, no duck droppings, no feathers. You know, those little blue shirt that that duck wore all the time.
I just imagine,
Donald Duck.
imagine
yeah,
the ducks on the conveyor belt. As a kid, you would look at the conveyor belt and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, there's my toy."
Yeah.
So I was imagining ducks on the conveyor belt, and I was just like, "Huh."
There were no ducks at the merchandise.
I don't know.
Good afternoon and welcome into Walker Talks.
You know, the genetically modified food, they've got genes from cold water fish in our tomatoes where they don't bruise when they're picked and shipped and hauled.
Yeah.
And then they do it with cotton to make it fight off of the Roundup chemical to where you can spray Roundup on your cotton plant and it won't kill it, but it kills the weeds. Or Roundup doesn't work much anymore.
Right.
But yeah, they've got tobacco that makes cocaine now instead of nicotine by genetically altering the genetics from it.
That's nuts. That's absolutely nuts. I had no idea.
Well, see, the tobacco plant is mostly leaves, and that's where it's easily to do the genetic. It's through CRISPR. I came back CRISPR the other day. That's how you introduce new genes into
so they like
an organism.
Cross like a cocaine plant with a tobacco plant, and is that how they did it?
They just
cross-pollinated or what?
Look up CRISPR. They remove genes from the coca tree, and they implant those. Just like when a virus gets into your genome, 8% of your genetics that you have is from a virus or different virus to last
over the course of time. Yeah,
and they can introduce genes from other organisms into the tomato or into cotton or into tobacco.
So this is happening somewhere in on this globe.
Yeah, there are tobacco plants that now make cocaine instead of nicotine.
Well, where?
So cocaine and nicotine are real close to the same thing.
This is on SignAlert.com. Yeah, I just had a friend text me in there.
Is this like in rural Kentucky and the Hatfield and McCoys are doing this, or?
Well, it'd just be a lot cheaper to raise it here and sell it here than to have to use all the killings and stuff down in Colombia. But they need to be raising avocados and the pineapples and food down south, and let us raise our own drugs here with tobacco plants.
I'll tell you, I did see a video online. I didn't see if it was true or not, but there was a person opening an avocado, and they had implanted drugs in the avocado, somehow glued it back together, and they were shipping across the border, and that was a way of smuggling in some sort of drug.
Good Lord.
I think it was cocaine.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense.
You can get some real good cocaine in avocado.
Okay.
That's some good flavor, huh?
Hey. All right, Bull. We got one more break before we go back come back and put a bow on this when you have been listening to Walker Talks.
I was wondering, if you could keep on, because the force it's got a lot of power and it makes me feel like
Welcome to Hampton Inn & Suites of Jackson. Make yourself at home in any of the 83 rooms or suites. Hampton Inn & Suites exit 83 at I-40 is minutes away from all Jackson destinations like the West Tennessee Healthcare Sportsplex, Casey Jones Village, Jackson Madison County General Hospital, and many industrial complexes. Enjoy free Wi-Fi, free parking, and free hot breakfast. Also a 24-hour fitness and business center. Welcome to West Tennessee. Make your reservations now by calling direct at 731-427-6100 or visit hampton.com.
Hey, this is Chuck Walker with Southeastern Termite and Pest Control. We recently celebrated our 20th year in business here in West Tennessee. That's 2 decades of growth for us. We've added to our work family, moved locations a few times, seen our coworkers have kids and grandkids. We've even seen our clients who were kids when we started at their parents' house now call us to take care of their homes. Lots of things change over 20 years, but here's what hasn't. We can still be reached 24 hours a day. We still provide quality, guaranteed termite and pest control service for all of West Tennessee. We still are the go-to company for real estate closing letters. We still provide quality fungus treatments and affordable moisture barriers. We still take care of your bed bugs, brown recluse, and every other pest problem you could have. If you own a home, you need termite protection. And the biggest thing we've learned in 20 years, we need you. Give us a call 24 hours a day for a different kind of experience from a service company. Southeastern, 660-1052. That's Southeastern, 660-1052.
Hey y'all, this is Mary at Mulligan's. Come see us soon before the new wears off. Hard to believe, but we're coming upon an anniversary in our locally family-owned business at Union University Drive. We still have our daily lunch specials, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., which will remind you of Grandma's cooking, or try our Irish dishes, fish and chips, Reuben's and shepherd's pie, or everyone's favorite, the Mully Burger. And how about brunch on Saturdays and Sundays? Yep, every weekend, serving Jackson for over 25 years. See you soon at Mulligan's.
Is your office or home office in need of a new printer, copier, fax, or multifunction machine? Do you need business cards, envelopes, or office supplies? Are you looking to upgrade to new office furniture? Office World Incorporated in Trenton has been serving all of the Gibson County and the West Tennessee area for over 65 years. Office World is a franchise partner of OfficeZilla. Call today, 731-855-9131, or email officeworldinc@gmail.com.
Award-winning Watson's Cleaning Service specializes in commercial and residential cleaning. Watson's cleans huge commercial buildings, West Tennessee Agriculture and Education Center, the Federal Court Building in downtown Jackson. Watson's also specializes in residential cleaning services, stripping and waxing floors, buffing, pulling trash, sweeping and mopping, vacuuming, household cleaning, baseboards, walls, dishes, dusting and organizing. Call 731-293-3808. Family owned and operated Watson's Cleaning Services. 293-3808.
Welcome back in to Walker Talks here on News Talk, 965.com, News Talk of West Tennessee. Download our apps. This comes in on our advanced rehab text line, 731-800-8398. It says, I have an avocado tree growing at my house. I started last year. 4 years or so. I should have some fun. Oh, fruit. I thought it said fun.
It does take forever, I've heard.
To grow an avocado tree?
Yep.
Y'all quit putting cocaine in the avocado trees. I mean, if I'm going to get guacamole and get high, I'm not going to be happy.
Just don't stop till you get enough.
Yeah, don't stop till you get enough.
This is one of the best Michael Jackson songs, by the way.
I can't believe that we're putting drugs in fruits and vegetables and things like that. I mean, have you people no shame?
Bull has so much information that I would have never thought about.
He is of wealth.
Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
Well, no. I had a friend text me. Yeah, they're 100%. You got these people out there. This is comes in on a sciencealert.com. Says a tobacco plant has been engineered to produce cocaine in its leaves, used by humans as a stimulant and anesthetic for thousands of years. The drug, commonly known as cocaine, has been carefully shaped by species of the coca plant over tens of millions of years in an arms race against hungry insects. Are insects getting high too? Good Lord. Knowing just how the plants pull off this feat of chemical engineering would be a big win for the pharmaceutical industry, while helping biologists better understand the evolution of similar pesticides across the plant kingdom.
I have seen some documentaries down where the cocoa plant is originated, where they chew the leaves just as a natural way of kind of chilling out.
Yeah, just calming down.
Maybe not chilling out, maybe speeding up.
Yeah, whatever it
does. I guess it does that. Yeah.
I don't know what the leaves do to it. I've seen documentaries like in these war docs, or like war on drugs docs, of like how it's made. They dump gasoline on these leaves. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's we don't like to break news here. We're not journalists. We're like little J journalists, not big J journalists. Brandon Shields is a real journalist, but
he's the man.
Yeah, but I do want to say this: cocaine's bad for you guys. It's not organic, right? Yep. They dump gasoline on it. That's no bueno.
It makes your heart rate increase a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, don't do it. Don't do it and think it's on the outside of the grocery store. No,
definitely not.
That would be the stuff that would be on the inside. Of the grocery store, or according to reports, by the avocados.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Avocados are really good for you.
They are good for you. They're supposed to make you smarter.
They've reduced my cholesterol. I've been eating more lately. I'm going to buy some today.
The open house for the jail expansion
Yep, that's coming up.
We've done. Yeah, the open house is in 8 days. It's a March 9th. No, that's not even 8 days. That's 7 days. Next week, open house is on March 9th from 5 to 8 o'clock.
Let me tell you one thing that jail has that the old jail doesn't. I've seen it.
What's that?
They have a full body scan machine. So if you think you're going to smuggle drugs in your stomach in a balloon, it's not happening at the new jail.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
That is pretty cool. A full body scan machine.
They showed me a scan of somebody.
Yeah.
They blocked out the name, obviously, for privacy purposes. But yeah, they've already caught people somehow. They've been using it already at the current jail.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It says, this is from Sheriff Weiser, said, I encourage all commissioners to come get a tour, but wear your tennis shoes because it's an 1/8 of a mile walk to see everything.
Yeah, it's big.
But y'all bought and paid for it, so come see what you paid for. You've been listening to Walker Talks. Dave Ramsey's coming up. 1 to 3, Dan Reeves in studio. 3 to 6 with the Dan Reeves Show. Basketball games tonight and then tomorrow morning. 6 to 8, Wake Up with Greg Wood.
It's been fun this week.
Been a lot
fun
of
this
fun.
week. Jill will be back tomorrow.
She'll be back tomorrow. We look forward to hearing from you. 96.5 FM, Parker's Crossroads, Jackson.
This is WBFG.